We are live. We are live. Can anyone hear us in the great void?
Well, at least we believe we're alive.
Yes. Anyway, welcome everyone to the Geeky Geezers. Get your geek on. It's time for the Geeky Geezers. Thank you, D. Pensac. I'm in good spirits tonight. I recently got to see William Shatner on stage. He's doing
Yeah.
a tour in Florida right now, so I caught him at a local theater, and they showed Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan, and then we just sat and we listened to William Shatner. It's funny, they asked him on stage, like the DJ that was interviewing him says, "You would make a great stand-up comedian. Anyone ever told you that?" And he says, "Stand-up comedian. I'd rather at my age, I want to be a sit-down comedian."
How did he come off as being like in good health and whatnot?
Good health, but someone in the audience, because the answers had to be apparent. Then some of the audience yelled out, like, "Oh, you're in great health. What's your secret?" And he says, "Oh, okay, you know what? I'll answer that one, even though it wasn't a pre-selected question." He says, "Listen to me." Where he says, "Oh, you look so great. You're walking around. I'm in pain. I'm in my 90s."
Yeah.
That's what he's all the time. But no, he talked about a lot of things. It's funny. You know what they said? He couldn't. Shatner said that up until last night he couldn't do he couldn't talk about Star Trek because the SAG strike.
Oh,
He
because
said
of the strike.
they told
Yeah.
him you can't talk about Star Trek and you can't mention that you were Captain Kirk or something like that. And he's like, "Well, what do I do then?" So he was actually, I think his other shows, he was talking about AI, like the future of AI and how it could be changing the
Yeah.
industries,
Yeah.
which sounds interesting, because he was talking about how I went to see the Alan Turing computer, the one that helped the British during World War II decode the German
Yeah. Yeah.
code,
Mm-hmm.
and he said I went in that, it's a whole room, and that computer, my phone in my palm of my hand is far more advanced than that computer. He kept talking about how technology has
Yeah.
advanced so much. But no, he had some cool
I'm
stories.
actually
Like,
kind of surprised he didn't tell SAG after to go piss off because I mean it's not like at his age he's planning on taking any more scripted roles.
well,
You
I have
know.
no idea. I have no idea what was done at the other shows. Maybe this was just for our benefit,
Yeah.
when he
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But because I find it hard to believe you wouldn't have talked about Star Trek any of the other things. Come on,
Right.
that's like half the questions you're going to get are going to be about Star Trek, if not
Right.
more. But no, it was some good stuff. He had some cool stories to tell about DeForest Kelly. I told you about one before the stream, and talked about Leonard Nimoy. He said Leonard Nimoy smoked a lot. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that. He
Wow.
suffered with COPD
He
before he
mentioned
died.
that. Yeah,
So,
yeah, he mentioned that. But
yeah.
great one man show. It was a good night. And I don't know if any of you have a chance to catch it in your area. You may want to check out William Shatner. I need to watch that documentary he was going to be in that they announced, because he's just an interesting personality. And you forget he's done a lot of stuff even besides Star Trek too. I mean, he's
Oh, yeah.
they-
I mean, we were talking the other day about him being in, the Twilight, a couple episodes of The Twilight Zone, and a
yep.
bunch of other TV shows actually before Star Trek. I mean, I'm almost as used to seeing him in black and white as in color as Captain Kirk. He and Nimoy were in an episode of The Man from Uncle, I believe.
Oh
Speaking of
yeah.
black and white, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool. Was this while Star Trek was on, or was this before Star Trek?
I want to say it was before Star Trek because
Okay.
again, it was filmed in black and white.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
cool.
how many seasons of Man from Uncle were in black and white? At least the first one was.
Yeah, Alexa, how many
Huh?
episodes
Oh, yeah.
or seasons of Man from Uncle were in black and white?
I don't know.
According to an
She's
Alexa
thinking
Answers
about it.
contributor, each season of Catastrophe consists of
Alexa,
6 episodes
stop!
per
You
season.
can't. You don't even understand what we're talking about. Alexa, shut the hell up!
Now you sound like William Shatner.
Alexis.
I know, right?
No, he was funny though, and they showed Star Trek 2 before he showed up on stage, so we were a little late for it. But I've seen.
Did he
it
agree
like
it was
does.
the best of the movies?
It's funny because he mentioned he liked it. Of course, he was talking about how it's made 40 years ago. And you think about it, that's true. It's over
Yeah,
like 40
I
years
hadn't
old
considered
now.
that. That's true. Yeah,
But what was interesting, it holds up very well though.
it does.
It's a classic. But what I found interesting though, he was talking about how
Season 1 was filmed entirely in black and white except for the pilot episode.
Okay, there you go.
okay, interesting. So they must have done a
So it
color
had to have
pilot.
been a first season episode. Yeah.
But Yeah. So, but he did mention how the Star Trek movies came to be, and he said that in Hollywood, you have these executive producers, and they stay there for about 3 years, and then they get fired because the projects they worked on did not make the money they were supposed to. Then you get another group of producers in there.
Right.
I think when one of these meetings they were saying this movie came out called Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it made a lot of money. And then he said that, I don't know if this is him making stuff or this happened. And then like some guy from the mailroom said, that Star Trek show, you might want to do something with that. Or like we own it. Yeah, let's make a Star Trek show. It'll make the money Star Wars made, And then he starts talking about Star Trek One, the motion picture, and it's all about this AI, this thing that went out into space, and it, this machine,
Yeah.
and then it gathered other machines, and then it came through and wanted to eat the Earth.
I guess.
Just the way he talked, I don't think it was not that flattery. He didn't diss it that harsh, but it didn't sound that flattery the first movie. But
Well, no, I kind of get where he's coming from. I mean, I'll tell you something though. I understand, and I've heard that story before, at least from other celebrities that were in Star Trek that told their perspective on it.
Right.
So I think when you hear a bunch of people tell a similar story, you figure out where they overlap, and that's probably where the truth is, right? So I do believe that Star Trek the motion picture, well, we all know the story of Star Trek Phase 2, right? Where they were going to do a TV series,
Yes.
do another TV series,
Gene.
and Star Wars comes out and they're like, scrap it, we're making a movie. But unfortunately, instead of making it like Star Wars, they made it like, 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it's like, all the kids that went to see Star Wars went to see Star Trek, and they're like, this is boring.
The thing is, it could have been interesting. I don't think the basic plot was bad. In fact, I think it was taken from some old episodes. Like it was kind of like the Nomad thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Nomad episode, very much like it. So I can totally see that.
And Star Trek 4 features another one of these space probes. It's just an alien space probe instead.
Right.
It's another thing. It's like that because
That's a great analogy because that is them taking that story and saying, okay, this is how we should have done it.
Yeah,
and it had to
exactly.
be action packed and
comedic and fun, and it was a lot of fun because the thing about Star Trek is you have your typical enemies like the Klingons or the Romulans and things like that, but then you would have actual alien threats that were just kind
like
of out
really
there.
alien, like godlike alien type
Like
stuff.
or like the Doomsday Machine, or even the Borg were very alien.
Yeah.
Like they're not like a normal species where you might be able to have some sort of reasoning with, even
Right.
though they are your adversary. These are just completely out of the ballpark. But
Yeah.
no, it was a good show. But now he's spry for his age. I got to give him that. But yeah.
I mean, because the reason I asked about his health is because I've had now two different instances where Netter and I were at conventions doing security for the convention. One where DeForest Kelley was the guest, and one where Walter Koenig was the guest. And in both cases, they had health issues. And DeForest Kelley could not do autograph signing because of his arthritis at the time.
Right.
So he had previously signed a bunch of photographs, and they were just being handed out to everyone that came into the auditorium for the question and answer session, which was very, very short. He was there for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, and he was done. That was his whole day.
Wow.
Walter Koenig, I think he missed doing autographs altogether because they scheduled the autographs to be after the question and answer.
Oh, okay.
And he was running late on the question and answer. And so as security, we're just trying to tell everybody, something's going on. We don't know what. Please be patient, whatever. And after being told to vamp for about half hour, 45 minutes, don't make this announcement. We're going to give an official announcement in just a moment. But Mr. Koenig is on the way to the hospital. He's just had a heart attack. Okay, we'll keep everyone calm and not make any promises.
Oh, wow.
And then we went home that night and we heard, on the news, and I'm like, yep, I knew about that.
Wow. Okay, yikes.
And this was years ago. So
is this after Babylon 5? Because I know
this
it was on
was was it after Babylon 5. It was either right around that time or just before, actually. He's had a heart problem for a long time, so the fact that he's still kicking is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's one of the few left. I know there's him. There's
of course,
George
he was
Guy.
the youngest of them, so
He was. That's why I expected. Well, that's why in Star Trek 2, it makes sense. He's not. The others are almost. I don't want to say they're like in teaching positions, like the other, in Star Trek 2.
Well, they all outranked him. He came in as an ensign, right?
He's now like where they might have been a few years after the original series, but not, like he still has his career going. He's on the Reliant.
Right.
He's an officer on the Reliant. He has so it made sense that he'd be on another ship doing that stuff. Yeah, but anyway, I should say hi to the chat. I've been
absolutely say hi to the chat.
But
starting with Horizon Talker, who says hello. The chat been having computer problems this week, so may not stay for the whole stream, but I'm interested in everyone's thoughts on the Zelda and the Ghostbusters. Yeah, we'll definitely get to that.
Here's my thought. Cautiously optimistic about Zelda, but I have maybe one red flag, which we'll get into later on.
Okay, I'll be interested to hear that.
Ghostbusters, hey, I like the trailer. I want to see more. That's what I want to say.
I have a thing or two to say about the marketing on this.
Okay.
Shouldn't be too surprised if you remember what I had to say about the marketing on Afterlife.
Right.
So
Do you know what's interesting? We've been talking about Epic Universe, the new Universal park.
Yes.
Like, I know Super Nintendo Land's going to be going park, but there are going to be other parts of this park, and I'm like, what else are they going to do? What about a Ghostbusters park in this thing?
Oh, that would be awesome.
I think that makes sense, especially if this next movie does well, because you could do a lot with Ghostbusters. It's still family friendly enough, and you could definitely do a Ghostbusters section of this park.
And what you got to do is you got to do some sort of a Ghostbusters take on the Haunted Mansion, make it a haunted hotel or something like that, with the same kind of humorous, scary type of thing that Ghostbusters is known for, and totally just, give the middle finger to Disney and their Haunted Mansion at this point.
I think you could do Ghostbusters. I think another section could be Middle Earth, if they could do it right, and maybe follow the movies, not that Amazon series.
God, if they're smart with that, they could make a whole park in and of itself.
You could, but the thing is, I don't think they should do Harry Potter again, because they got Harry Potter in the other two parks. It doesn't make any sense to do that in this park. But I'm thinking, what else is a big fantasy thing?
Actually, you want to be really smart. Get all three parks together and have them like in a 33 and a third development on a whole Harry Potter park.
Well, they've done that too. Like, there's part of the Harry Potter ride, like the Harry Potter section, and I want to say it's a little clever, or maybe not so clever, that Universal kind of split the Harry Potter section sort of between the two parks. Like, I think Diagon Alley, where you get the wands and stuff, it's in one park, but then if you want to go to Gringotts Bank, it's in the other park. And you could also take the train between the two parks.
I was going to say, you can take the train between them, right? That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so we'll see. But have a great show, you marvelous geezers. Oh, thank you, Big Al. Always good to see you.
You're
awesome. Marvel's bomb. We'll be talking about that.
Yeah,
you notice how that's not even a headline now, because I'm like, does anybody care about Marvel at this point? It's really sad how that's fallen off the cliff. Welcome, last call, Troy Pacelli. Speaking of that, keep an eye out this Friday night. There was a great this past Friday we had a great guest on for the Star Wars Holiday Special Rewatch, Michael French. I'm very interested to see what he's going to do with Evangelion. I don't want to say he's like stirring the hornet's nest, but maybe it's time somebody did. That's what I'm thinking, because this has been around for a while, and that's like the one anime I've never watched because I just found the fan base rather toxic. So you have to understand.
And I kind of commented on this a little bit on Friday.
Yeah.
I don't have a dog in the hunt. I think everyone knows I'm even less knowledgeable about anime than you are, and even you are just on the tip of the iceberg of all of the stuff that's out there. You bring up anime on a stream or whatever, suddenly the chat just fills up with, you got to check out this, make sure you see this and see all this series, but only watch this version of the series because the other version of the series,
it's like, tricky.
And I've heard Evangelion so many times, and I'm like, okay, some people really like this. Maybe I'll have to check this out. thought nothing of it until I heard, he was going to be doing this thing. I follow him on Patreon, so he did some. I've seen all of his, updates and little snippets of his notes and whatnot. And he said, guys, I got to tell you, this is going to be a very different kind of thing. And I'm like, and he's like, I know I'm going to upset a lot of people. I'm
might
like, well,
break the internet. That's what I'm thinking with this.
Well, and I said to
break the
him,
internet.
I said, look, it's no big surprise. I mean, that's what you do. I think there's a lot of people that just like to troll and get upset about the things you say. And everybody in the chat was like, no, Troy, you don't understand. Evangelion is bad. It's insane. The guy that wrote it is insane. And then Michael was like, oh, yeah, I'll get into that. Just wait, Troy. And I'm oh, wow.
There were two animes that I remember having toxic fan bases back in the day. It was Evangelion and Fushigi Yuji.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
That's like an isekai type series.
Okay.
I preferred, I didn't watch that one. I liked Escaflowne. I had a lot of fun with that one. But again, I'm speaking Greek to you, I'm sure.
I was just going to say, I don't even recognize the words coming out of your mouth.
Escaflowne was rather fascinating. It's about this high school girl, and this warrior comes out of this portal and is fighting a dragon on the track field at her high school. And then she ends up getting sucked in with him and ends up in this complete like fantasy world. But you can see our Earth is their moon. Like our Earth looks like their moon at night. Do you understand? So we're wondering, where is this place in relation? Is it in another dimension, but they can see us, but we can't see them? And it was a fascinating adventure.
I was confused and knitting my brow when you said attorney came out of a portal. I just
what came out of the portal?
I thought you said warrior. I thought you said attorney.
And he's fighting a dragon on like a high school track field.
That makes slightly more sense, I suppose.
All right, but it was a good series back in the day. I enjoyed it, but again. William Shatner has a lot of charities he promotes. I'm sure he could find something to talk about. Yeah, he mentioned that the horse thing about how putting a disabled kid on a horse will like that was one of the things he did. Like having, I guess doing stuff with horses and I want to say special needs children, like doing stuff with that. He was doing that. The Making of Star Trek 2 book is quite nice. I'll have to look for that. Oh, poor Alexa deleted scenes says, welcome deleted scenes. Make sure you see the Chaos on the Bridge documentary. I'll have to check that out. Thank you. He was talking up the book he did. Apparently he has an album out now too. Is that right?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Borg sounds Swedish. Yes, I know, from First Contact. That's funny. First Contact's underrated. I picked up the TNG movies, but it's underrated. It's not perfect, but
no.
Picard had some interesting moments in that. Escaflowne is the superior portal fiction work of anime canon. Only 12 Kingdoms is superior. I'll look for 12 Kingdoms. I've not seen that one. Okay. And excellent isekai series, better than 90% of the genre. I enjoyed it a lot back in the day. That was a lot of fun. But wait a minute, what is this? Evangelion is all about Anna working through depression. I'm not sure adapting to another meeting without him. There to be depressed makes sense. Yeah, well. Anyway, welcome Connie Cleary. We need to talk about the good old days.
I thought that anime and Star Trek was the good old days. No.
No.
Maybe it has something to do with the pictures that we have up.
Yes.
There we go.
I figured our first article is about The Simpsons, and I figured let's talk about The Simpsons in the 90s.
Yeah.
Do you remember how The Simpsons first started?
I absolutely do, because I was a huge fan of the Tracy Ullman show.
Yes.
And I swear to you, I would watch that show and laugh so hard. There were some funny shows back then to the point that I don't remember. There's very few things that have made me laugh so hard that I cried. But back then, the Tracy Ullman show and the Gary Shandling show, those two shows.
Oh, the Gary Shandling show was hilarious.
I love the opening. This is the theme to Gary Show, the opening theme to Gary Show. This is the music that you hear as you watch the credits. I'm almost halfway finished. How do you like it so far? How do you like the theme to Gary Show? I love it. It's so self-referential,
Do you remember the presidential prediction episode where they were doing all the stuff to see who would win the presidency, and like they did the cream corn test, and the kid ate the cream corn that was labeled Dukakis. And they figured George Bush
Yes.
Senior was going to lose. And said, "Well, you know, since we know that George Senior is going to lose, you can start making fun of him now." All these really tasteless jokes. And then someone
Samuel
comes in-
Proctor, Troy, don't sing again, please.
Okay. That should be your next thing out before your stream.
Right.
But no, it was funny though. And then he goes, and then like you know this. I think the Secret Service guy or someone goes in and says, no, George Bush won the election. You just insulted the new president of the United States, and then it went from that to worse than the
gosh.
episode. And it was just good fun.
But what
Tracy
the,
Ullman, yes.
What
And
the
then
Tracy Ullman show did was they had this
Animated
this
shorts.
little video,
Yeah.
these little snippets of video by Matt Groening, who they had originally wanted because he had done Life in Hell.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work real well for your show. So he comes up with these different characters. This take on a sitcom, family sitcom type thing, but just in his typical Matt Groening kind of, and you got to understand the Matt Groening that you guys all think you know from the modern Simpson and Futurama and stuff like that. He was way more hard, cutting edge, kind of bleak, weird.
Oh, yeah.
Back when he first started out. I mean, his stuff was you read in comics. You know, the way you all are reading anime, that's the way you read Matt Groening's work. Life in Hell, and what was the one with the two kids that wore fezzes? Oh, I call them kids. I don't know, because some of the topics was not kid friendly, so I don't know. But anyway, doesn't matter. And the animation was much more rough than when the Simpsons
Then
finally
the show
came out.
aired. Yeah, they hadn't refined what they look like. They do a little in joke later on in The Simpsons where like the episode ends and it's Brat and Eliza win the award, and they look like the Matt Groening version of Bart and Lisa Simpson.
Oh.
They're on the stage, and it was like
Yeah.
this uncanny valley thing. It was weird.
I love that. That's brilliant.
But yeah, I remember one episode of in the Tracy Ullman show. I think Homer is like I think Bart says, I'm trying. What's mind over matter? And he says, what is mind? No matter. What is matter? Never mind. I think he said something like that.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember the whole bit, but that rings a bell. And then of course we had the Simpsons holiday special, the Christmas special. Remember, that was the first episode.
I don't remember it being the first episode, but I'll take your word for that.
It was the first episode. It was before the show came on. It was the episode with Santa's Little Helper. It was done as a special, like a Christmas special, like how you'd have the Charlie
Sure.
Brown Christmas special. And it's all about how, Mr. Burns tells everybody at the plant, there will be no Christmas bonus this year. And I don't know what happens. I don't know if Bart breaks his arm. People are going to yell at me, Simpsons experts. But something happens where, like, because they also have the big jar that they save up in where they put the money in to save for Christmas presents. And, the trouble is there's an accident, and I think someone breaks their arm or something, and then they have to use all the money in the big jar to pay for it. And then Marge says, well, don't worry. We're going to have to stretch your Christmas bonus a little further this year, right?
Oh, and there is no Christmas bonus, right?
And there is no Christmas bonus, and Homer doesn't want to tell the family about this, so
Right.
he gets a job as a mall Santa, and he has to go through a training course for it too.
Oh my gosh.
And that's a whole bit on that. And then I figure he doesn't. His check he gets for the work isn't a lot. He's like, I can't buy hardly anything. What can I buy with this? Or it was like I don't know, it was like $100 or something. And then like the guy says, listen, I'm going down to the track. It might have been Barney, and he says, there's a sure bet, Santa's Little Helper. And then he bets all the money at the track, and I think Santa's Little Helper loses, and they lose the money. And then which was funny though, Bart finds out that he dressed as Santa Claus, and he's like, you must really love us to sink so low to be a mall Santa. And so anyway, so Santa's Little Helper's running away, and this guy saying, you've lost your last dog race or something. He's throwing things at him. And so they take Santa's Little Helper home with them, and he's the present. and everybody is happy,
Wow.
because they get a new dog for Christmas. That was
nice.
That's why all throughout the series he's called Santa's Little Helper, because that was his code name on the track.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I did. I vaguely remember that. That's just such a dim memory, but yeah. No, absolutely.
And then the show came on, and it was in prime time too. And I think it was Flintstones was the last time a cartoon was on in prime time, right?
Yeah, and I think it was seen in a lot of ways as a very similar modern dress version of that. It was very very of its time. It was more up to date. I mean, let's face it. There were some things about the Flintstones that we only consider to be family friendly now because, the era it came out was so, the way it was.
Right.
But it was pretty adult. Let's face it. Back when the Flintstones first came out, they did commercials for cigarettes. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing we're talking about there. They were, and they had some pretty adult stories. Nothing that's not PG these days. But back then, people might have gone, really? But and honestly, that's kind of how The Simpsons was too. It was very,
not really
sure.
a kids cartoon, but kids still watched it. I watched it. I think it was in 7th grade when it was on.
Yeah.
And big fan of it though. I remember it had a whole cast of characters. Obviously, you had Barney, the town drunk.
I can't take this much longer. I gotta have a beer.
I know. And then there was, what was it? There's Mo, the tavern owner, and
find it, buy it, make it. I don't care. Just get me some booze and fast.
Do you remember when they did the child, find your inner child episode, and then the little Mo says, "Hey, Mo, how come you don't talk with your accent no more?"
Yeah, exactly.
And everything else, and he goes, "Mamma mia!" when he heard that.
Considering his name is Mo Sizlak, kind of makes you wonder why he would have an Italian accent. But okay.
No, I think it was just supposed to be old world accent.
I get it. Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. It's too much to cover here, but all sorts of things.
Yeah, well, it's been how many years has this been on? It's been like 40 years on TV.
40
right?
years, and I think I dropped out sometime in the 2000s.
Yeah, me too.
I think I didn't like when they killed Maud off. That bugged me. That was Ned Flanders' wife, and I think that's because the voice actors wanted more money, so they just axed the character without her knowing about it. I don't know. It bothered me. I thought, what I found funny about Maud was that Homer kind of had the hots for her. Not obvious about it, but there was the episode where he got drunk and he at a party. It was embarrassing. And when he went up to Paul and he says, "I want some peanuts." "Oh, okay, I'll get you some peanuts, Homer." "No, the ones at the bottom." And she leans over and her cleavage is showing, and it's just. And that's when they had to go to marriage counseling.
Right. Exactly.
Oh.
Well, no. I remember when Marsha Wallace died. Mrs. Krabappel,
Oh no!
And it was like, well, because I also remember Marsha Wallace from, so many other sitcoms before, I'm like, oh man, that's pretty tough. But yeah, I know Netter and I pretty much fell away from the show, and the show was really starting to take a different turn right around the time they did that Simpsons movie. You remember the Simpsons movie?
I never actually saw the Simpsons movie. I kept meaning to see it, and it just never happened. Was it good?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, it was. I throughout the movie, I was like, it's like a long episode of the show.
That's why I didn't see it in theaters. I was going to catch it on video.
The problem is, though, when it became a feature film, they wanted to take advantage of pushing the envelope because they could on the big screen based on movie ratings rather than the television ratings, right? You can get away with a little bit more in the movies. So they also figured, well, that means we can push what we can say. And Netter took real offense to Marge, of all characters, really dropping the GD bomb. She's
wow.
You know what? She says, I don't even want to watch this show anymore. I said, okay. It wasn't really good anymore anyway. That
doesn't strike me as being in with her character. She was the
exactly
family.
That's the other that's the probably I let's face it, I don't care much for that either, but I do keep it in the context of, we're talking about people that don't have a conviction about this, so on and so forth. But then if you're going to write a character like Marge,
Yes.
you know, and have her be the one that drops that, it's like, do you understand your own characters? Really?
Yeah. Well, the problem is, I think the problem with The Simpsons was they kept switching writers, and I think that's
Yeah.
what ended up happening. I think those early episodes, at least during the '90s, I think it was just a spot-on good show. And I don't know if later seasons were worse. One thing that got me angry was they used to do those Treehouse of Horror specials, and they would always air them on Halloween or Halloween
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then Fox started doing Sunday Night Football, and they wouldn't air The Simpsons until the season was over. So you get Treehouse of Horror in November, and it was dumb. And I'm like, just show the Treehouse
That
of Horror
was-
episode as a special, another night of the week.
Yeah, that
I
was...
didn't understand that.
That's network stupidity. I had that problem in the Chicago area with WGN and Deep Space Nine. Same kind of thing. It's just, you know what? And so now every time I hear about sports ball and, you know, ESPN and Disney, you know, whatever, I'm like, I don't care. I'm sorry you didn't get to see your show. No, I'm not. You know, because it's not my thing, and you sports ball people deserve it. You know, that's just my feeling.
Oh, that happened. Yeah, that was a big problem. I remember that. Spider Pig. Yeah, that was a thing in the movie, I guess. Yeah. I just didn't see the movie.
Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does.
But,
Oh, do the Bartman. Everybody back and forth and side to side.
But The Simpsons was funny, especially in the 90s, though, because it really was taking a lens on American society. Like, they say, oh, you're stereotyping. But all these stereotypes, they sort of, I mean, like the cops would eat the donuts, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You know, you had Apu, the convenience store over, who
Right.
was Indian, obviously. And
Exactly.
and all sorts of, every character, the comic book guy in the comic book store. You know,
Yes, exactly.
who I'm sorry, he's kind of emblematic of a certain segment.
He really is. No, there's no doubt about it. You really can't.
I'm sorry. That
Stereotypes exist for a reason.
Yes.
There's enough people that are like that's what people think of. In fact, and you mentioned how, you know, it's all parody of stuff. Even that Bartman song, you'd be hard pressed to convince me that wasn't meant to be a direct parody pastiche homage to like the Super Bowl Shuffle and stuff like that.
Right.
You know,
It's just it was I'm just trying to think though. Yeah, it was a big hit when it came on. I don't think it ever died down. I think it's been on too long, personally speaking. I think that it's one of these shows that one of the reasons our next article where it's having so many problems now is, you know,
it's time to pretty much just let it go, right?
let it go. But they won't do it, even though now Fox doesn't even exist anymore. It's Disney that owns it now. So this is
And
just
I will
it's weird.
say something else we didn't comment on was that people forget that for as popular as that show was, it has been, I think it may still be, but definitely in its day, it really was a marketing juggernaut. I remember playing the Simpsons video game, which was really just a reskinned version of the
Turtles game.
Teenage Mutant
Same
Ninja
company
Turtles.
made it. They actually released it briefly on consoles for download. I have it on my PlayStation 3.
There you
Of course,
go.
it's digital only, so
Sure.
it may
well,
disappear
you
at
take
some
what you
point.
can get,
But
I guess.
it was the only way to get it, though. But, yeah.
But absolutely, yeah, because it was like Bart with his skateboard rather than, I think it was Raphael with his sai, or no, not sai, nunchaku.
Yeah, he had
or
the
whatever.
skateboard. Marge had the vacuum cleaner, right?
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
And they all came in as superheroes. When they would show up, they were in like a super outfit. Then it went away. I think Bart was Bartman. Homer was in some kind of Superman costume, right?
Right,
And then he
right,
would
right.
then he would look like himself. It was just there were a
Right,
lot of-
because how else do you bring them in when the player comes in and drops some quarters and you're in the middle of the game? Well, they just got to fly in like superheroes and then boom, that's it.
yeah.
You know.
And then there was, of course, the Simpsons Hit and Run video game, which is considered lost media now because it'll never get republished. But that was for the GameCube. It was Grand Theft Auto, but with Simpsons characters.
If you have any interest in it, you could find playthroughs of it on YouTube.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, you're probably better off with those watch throughs because from everything I've heard, the play mechanics of it were just freaking terrible.
It was all right.
Was
For
it
the
okay?
time.
You played it?
For the time, yeah, I had on the game. It was basically them ripping off Grand Theft Auto at the time.
Sure.
Maybe not as refined, but you know, I got the Simpsons Hit and Run Friday. Okay, well, good for you. For some reason, it was always common on the GameCube. I don't know why. It came out on all three of the big systems at the time, and maybe PC.
But again, it's because of Simpsons. People would just go crazy, and the Simpsons even had action figures, they had comics.
They had comics, yeah. It's just everything in that Simpsons universe too, like Duff Man, like even the minor characters, Lionel Hutz and Troy McClure, played by Phil Hartman.
Yeah.
Oh, he was my favorite part of that show. Was whenever he showed up on it.
You may remember me from such shows.
Phil Hartman. We'll have to do a good old days on him someday.
Well, I'll tell you something else.
Yeah.
You'd have to pay attention sometimes because some of the jokes in The Simpsons would go by so fast. When Phil Hartman would say, "You might remember me from such shows as," whatever he said was gonna be funny. It was probably a deep cut.
There was an episode where he was playing Lionel Hutz, and he was in the courtroom, and he has to defend Marge, right? Because Marge is on trial, and the prosecution goes to the jury and says, "Who's more handsome, Tom Cruise or Mel Gibson?" And he says, see, Judge, I can waste the court's time battling the Supronks because we're going to win. And then, like, Lionel Hutz says, "Wow, he's going to win." It's like, Mr. Hutz. It's like,
and then,
the worst lawyer. That was his whole thing.
Oh, maybe it was. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was good.
One of the shows that I oftentimes confuse it with is Family Guy. In fact, wasn't there was a crossover with Family Guy?
Not only was there a crossover, I think when Family Guy went on hiatus all the years, I think a lot of the Family Guy writers ended up on The Simpsons.
Interesting.
That's why some of the humor got a little Family Guy-ish.
Yeah,
on The Simpsons,
I suppose so.
Stuff that didn't make sense, like Homer says, "Oh, he made some joke about gummy fish, and there was an actual fish that was gummy. He ripped a piece, and it was like wiggling around. It didn't make any sense." I don't know. It's a good show. It was a great show. But I don't know. I mean, we could talk about The Simpsons for 3 hours, probably. Do you have anything left to say, though? There's so many characters.
No, we should probably get into how they're destroying it now, because that's what they do. Everything that we enjoy, they've got to deconstruct and destroy.
Homer Simpson declares he won't strangle Bart anymore on The Simpsons. So yeah, we'll continue our Simpsons talking here.
Yeah.
Let me find my notes. I should have had those ready. Hold on, give me a second. But yeah, this is the latest. And to be fair, I don't know if this is because it's under Disney now, or if it was always getting this bad even when it was under Fox. Yeah, Release the Hounds. Thank you, D. Pensek. Mr. Burns, great villain. He was the villain of the series, basically.
Yeah.
They did the Who Shot JR and said it was Who Shot Mr. Burns two-parter. I remember that. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Should have had all this set up. I was talking too much about William Shatner. Okay, Homer Simpson declares he won't strangle Bart anymore in The Simpsons. Times have changed. Homer Simpson, voiced by Dan Castellaneta, made the declaration in a recent episode titled McMansion and Wife, where he offered an explanation for his tight grip. The Simpsons has changed one of its longest-running gags to be more in line with the times. In a recent episode titled McMansion and Wife, which aired October 22nd, Homer Simpson, Dan Castellaneta, met with his new neighbor Thayer, Hank Azaria, who noted that Homer had quite a grip as they shook hands. "See, Marge, strangling the boy has paid off," Homer quipped to his wife. "Just kidding, I don't do that anymore." Homer then added with a smile, "Times have changed." Homer's strangulation of his oldest child, Bart, voiced by Nancy Cartwright, has been deployed for laughs since the show's debut in 1989. Homer has also been strangled himself by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who played himself in a cameo during the season 22 episode "Love Is a Many Strangled Thing." Well, anyway, and although Homer only recently declared he wouldn't throttle his 10-year-old Toon son, the TV dad hasn't actually done so in several years. According to IGN, Homer last strangled Bart on screen during the show's 31st season, which aired from 2019 to 2020. Some argue it was 2019 was the last year before everything became completely wokeified. It was
pretty much. That was the turning point.
That was the turning point.
That was also the release of the virus of unknown origin. And, I would say 2019 really is where the world turned.
Yes. The Simpsons has had to re-examine some of its more problematic characterizations in recent years. Most notably when it's the Indian American character Apu. I should know how to say that name. Nahas. Anyway, Apu, also formerly voiced by Azaria, drew criticism for its portrayal of negative stereotypes, even sparking the 2017 documentary The Problem with Apu. Azaria, 59, later stepped down from the role in January 2020, noting that it was the quote-unquote right thing to do. See, 2020. The part has yet to be recast, with Apu only making background appearances in the years that followed. I really didn't know any better, Azaria said on the Armchair Expert podcast in April 2021, according to The Guardian. I didn't think about it. I was unaware how much relative advantage I had received in this country as a white kid from Queens. Just because there were good intentions, it doesn't mean that there weren't real negative consequences to the thing that I'm accountable for.
See, I have no respect for a response like that. I really don't. You're an actor, you're doing a job, and that's how I would respond. I would say, I did what I was told, I'm an actor. You don't like it, don't blame me.
This is like 1984. That's what this is reminding me of. This
is
like the newspeak. In fact, I think they're going after Orwell now. I think I read a headline. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. It was also announced in February 2021 that the long-running character Dr. Hibbert, who is black, would be recast with Kevin Michael Richardson after decades of being voiced by Harry Shearer, who is white. All right. I don't know if that's the reason for the recasting, but that's what it's sounding like from the way this article is saying. I remember back in the 90s when you could have black actors voice white characters, and I mean black actors voice white characters, and white actors voice
in the real Ghostbusters, Egon was voiced by a black actor.
Yes.
Nobody gave a crap.
The Kingpin was voiced by a black actor on the Spider-Man cartoon series.
Again, nobody cared.
But he cared. Yes.
Yeah. This is
regressive.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
The point is, it's like it shouldn't matter because it's animation. You can.
Yep.
I mean, I sort of understood in Disney sometimes because they sort of based the way characters looked on the actors playing them.
Sure.
To a degree.
But those are also one-offs. Again,
those
the other thing, when you have ensemble casts, you need one person to play multiple roles. Hey, go back to Star Trek, the animated series. You know, you had your core actors, and they did multiple roles. You had Shatner and what's her name, Nichelle Nichols, and what was the Scotty? Jim Doohan. Did multiple voices. In fact, between Majel Barrett and Nichelle Nichols, they did all the female voices, all the alien female voices, regardless of what race they were supposed to be. You know, any background female characters, they'd take turns with them because that's how they kept costs down.
Yes, exactly. And that would happen on a lot of the DC cartoons too. You might have Michael Rosenbaum would end up switching roles sometimes in the same episode,
right?
Because he was a talented voice actor in addition to being Lex on Smallville. But here we go.
Every time I think about him as playing the Flash and then doing the Lex Luthor thing, I have no idea who this is.
He also played the voice of Deadshot in the DC animated universe.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
doesn't surprise me.
But I'm just kind of over this, and frankly, I think they humanized Apu in later seasons. You got to know him.
Yeah,
I mean, he was a comedic character, but he was 3-dimensional. I thought they did that nice.
They did that with all of their characters. Yes. You get all these years of laughing at somebody. Little Barney, you know, he's the town drunk, and then you start to find out why he is the way he is. And
remember, he was like really smart before he started drinking.
Yeah.
He was studying engineering. And
yeah,
it just went all downhill. I felt bad for him. Remember that? It was
just,
but I don't know. The point is, though, what bothers me most about this, though, it's one thing for them to take the choking out, which okay, whatever. You want to move on from that, but then they make a reference to it and wink at the audience like it's almost like they're doing some posturing in this episode. It's like thinking it's funny. It's not funny. It's lame.
Right.
To use an un-PC.
Well, it does, without having seen the episode, it sounds like the reference he's making is almost like, and I think I remember, didn't they have Lisa make some commentary on Apu?
Well,
a
that
meta
was
reference.
that was different though because it's like, oh, attacking us for something for doing something in a time that was 20 years ago or something. Like she made some comment about that in the
Yeah.
description or something like that. Things change, and I think that was actually kind of a correct response. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
it was
about.
just
And it
chill
sounds like,
out.
and it sounds like they're kind of doing that a little bit here with, oh, I don't do that anymore. It was a different time, right? It's,
Yeah.
it's a reference to, oh, we got to change because of the times, right? Modern
Well,
audience.
it's. Well, I don't know who the modern audience for The Simpsons is. I guess it's still popular.
The fact is, the
Still being
modern
watched.
audience, and we talk about this over and over again for all of these different franchises. Who is the modern audience? The modern audience is a bunch of dumbass kids with delusions of socialism, snowflakes that look for reasons to be offended by everything. They're people that nobody likes. Seriously.
What was funny on The Simpsons, they made fun of that attitude. There was an episode where Lisa, like they're getting a football team together, right? It's all about
Yeah.
joining football, and she goes over. Oh, I guess you don't want a girl on your football team. Oh yeah, our two their two quarterbacks, their two defense are like their two girls on the team already. Welcome. He says, well, I wouldn't get involved with a game that involved the pigskin. And then he says, "Oh, well, this is actually artificial pigskin, and and all the proceeds go and the proceeds from the sales of these go to Habitat for Humanity." And then she runs away crying because she was looking for something to be offended
Exactly.
by, and they were
Exactly.
and that was the joke. Yes.
Well, and that is the funny thing too, right? Because
she was more the activist of the family. That was the
there did start to be a dust up about. In reality, there was a dust up years ago about using pig skin for the football.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers of football started saying, well, maybe this isn't even really the best material. We've got much better artificial materials now, so they switched. And now you got morons getting upset because it's plastics. And that means oil, and it's like, oh, just screw yourselves, really.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. They're never happy. They look for things to be offended by because it's what they strive on. Yeah. Nicely said, last call, Troy Pacelli, regarding the modern audience.
That is what the modern audience is, and it's a and I think as many other channels have pointed out, that same modern audience don't go to the movies, they don't consume the product. They're all cheap bastards living off their parents. And
they're all sharing their Disney Plus accounts. It's like...
yeah, exactly. And they're buying friggin' Funko Pops. I mean, that's what their marketing is. So
I don't have a single Funko Pop. I'll say that.
I have a knockoff Funko Pop that somebody got me.
Thing.
It was like a Klingon bobbleheady type thing because it was Klingon, and I'm like, okay. That's the kind of gift I wouldn't have gotten for myself, but I can understand someone just wanting to get me a Klingon thing I didn't have. Okay.
I do own Amiibos now though because I couldn't hold off anymore. But they're really gaming accessories. Don't let anybody tell you any different. It's how Nintendo sells DLC. Buy the Amiibo and you'll get a free item in your game or something. You get a little plastic figurine.
Well, actually, we did talk about this, and I did say at least you have some physical object in addition to something in the game. So I guess I can get behind that.
So are we going to do more with Dismal Disney?
We got plenty to say about. It's funny because as we're going into the weekend, especially when I've been drinking, I can't remember what the heck's coming up for Geeky Geezers. So I'll just say, oh, we got some Disney news. It's probably about how bad they are, and because let's face it, you can't go wrong. That's the way it is. But this week, Disney is suddenly and without warning cracking down on third-party tour guides, some of which have operated for decades and help curate park experiences for disabled visitors.
Yeah.
I saw this and I said, I know what they're talking about. I've heard about these people. And it's like, yeah, it's true. They're third party. They absolutely do not work for Disney. But especially in the cases of disabled visitors, they are providing a valuable service, But
so here we go. Yeah, I'll go ahead and start reading from this article. Feel free to chime in at any point. It's a long article, so I didn't include the entire thing. But
No. Yeah, just get
it's a
it
good
the high
article, but
points.
I just
Yeah. And
Florida
that's
police
why we provide you with a link so that you can
read the
read the
whole
whole
thing.
article in context. Yeah.
This is good from Insider.com. Florida police are serving trespass notices to third-party tour guides at Disney World. Disney says these guides are conducting unauthorized commercial activity, but several guides told Insider they had been operating for years, some for decades, without issue. Nicholas Deniz, who was waiting to enter Walt Disney World in Orlando with his clients last month when a park manager pulled him out of line. Denise is a third party tour guide. He said he was waiting with clients at the time to help them navigate the park. When Denise walked away with the manager, he said two Orange County police officers greeted him. Corinne, one of Denise's clients who was present at the time, said she felt horrible as she watched the scene unfold. I felt like he had done something terribly wrong the way that they pulled him aside and spoke to him, said Corinne, whose last name is known to Insider and has been withheld for privacy concerns. After speaking with park staff, Denise said a police officer handed him a trespass notice and told him he was indefinitely banned from all Walt Disney properties. He said the officer told him the ban could be appealed via handwritten letter addressed to Disney's security director after 1 year. Insider has reviewed a copy of the trespass notice. Those who violate the order could face arrest according to local law. Unauthorized commercial activities are not permitted at Disney World, as clearly stated in our property rules, a Disney spokesperson told Insider in a statement. A spokesperson for the Orange County Sheriff's Office told Insider they have deputies assigned to work at the park every day. Insider spoke with 9 party business owners and tour guides impacted by a crackdown on their services, 5 of whom have received the notice themselves. Several say they've been operating for years, one for nearly 3 decades, and have never before had an issue. Many of these businesses help clients secure dining and lodging reservations at Disney World, design their itineraries, and help them navigate the parks. Several third-party business owners also told Insider that they provide services at a lower rate than Disney, which charges $450 to $900 per hour for private tours. One third-party operator said the price ranges from $180 to $250 per hour, while another said the rates can go up to $300 per hour. It's worth noting that Disney tours can get visitors to the front of the lines and into backstage areas that third parties operators cannot. Now, several owners and tour guides say they're facing financial insecurity as their jobs vanish, and they just want a seat at the table with Disney to find a solution. None of us are attempting to portray Disney in a negative light, but are just desperate for answers, Alana Crutchfield, a third-party guide and owner of Elevate Amusement, told Insider. Okay, and there had a third-party tour guides at Disney say they've been providing service for years. Okay, Ramon Rodriguez has run his business, Theme Park Concierges, for 12 years. He received a trespass notice, which was reviewed by Insider on October 4th. We provide a service to Disney by itself by bringing clients, high-end clients, Rodriguez says. My clients aren't eating hamburgers and hot dogs and popcorns. They go to Disney's high-end restaurants. They stay at Disney's luxury hotels. Murray Krasnoff runs a third-party concierge and tour guide business called Suntastic Service. He told Insider his company has operated since 1996 and never had an issue with Disney security before last month. Disney says a rise in unauthorized activity and rules abuses led to the crackdown. Krasnoff said he understands Disney is private property, but he's confused why the industry was allowed to operate for so many years. Why now all of a sudden is this happening? A spokesperson for Disney said the company is serving trespass notices to these businesses because they are conducting unauthorized activity, even if clients are paying outside park property, because the delivery of the service is occurring on park property. The spokesperson also said there had been an uptick in abuses of the Disability Access Service and other services which impede park operations. The spokesperson declined to provide any documentation of this increase. Several third-party tour guides and business owners agree that not everyone in the industry behaves ethically. One third-party tour guide who has been in the industry for 6 years said there are several companies that are widely known to abuse Disney rules. Her identity, which was known to Insider, had been withheld for privacy concerns. For instance, these companies might tell guides to tell guest services they have irritable bowel syndrome to get a disability pass for themselves, the business owner told Insider. Business owners say they're searching for answers and want to work with Disney to find a solution. Several business owners and their employees told Insider that their only source of income has disappeared. Melinda Hanks has run her business, Create a Dream, since 2008. She told Insider it's her family's only source of income. This was my livelihood, and it's completely stopped, Hanks said.
Yeah.
business owner says they're searching for answers and don't want to work with Disney to find solutions. Several business owners and their employees told Insider that their only source of income is now disappeared. Melinda Hanks has run her business, Create a Dream. Okay, I already said that. Okay.
So it's very clear, though, that although they say they want to work with Disney, Disney does not want to work with them. All I can think is Princess Leia saying, the more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. And the more Disney tightens its grip, the more customers it is losing. It is literally turning people away.
I have a question. This is not, the business transactions are not conducted on park property.
No.
So what does it matter? The person doing the guide had to pay for a ticket as well, correct?
Exactly. And this is where I would say, how is this any different than if I were to come down to Florida, go to Disney, right, and give, Jay, Drunk 3PO, a call and say, hey, buddy, I'm going to Disney. If I buy a ticket for you, can you show me around? I know you know this park. How is it any different?
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
And I'll buy you lunch and, I'll pay for your gas and whatever,
These parks can be tricky to navigate. I mean, I don't even know what it's like now, but even like 10, 15 years ago.
I call Elena Creole and I say, hey, can you give me advice on, how I can get the best deals, where I can go eat, and so on and so forth. You know what? I'll put a little extra in your tip jar.
Here's what happens.
Where do you draw that line?
Well, I've read guidebooks for Disney, and to be fair, they're unofficial. They're probably going to go after those next. The guidebooks, because that's how you find out. Like, for instance, where do you eat in the parks? Some of this park food is very expensive. So if you're looking for a bargain, sometimes these guidebooks tell you where things are reasonably priced. Nothing's cheap there, but some things are reasonably priced, and the food is good.
Yeah.
But then other places, it's not so reasonably priced, and the food is not good. You understand?
So I will say this. That when you start a business around someone else's business, I mean, you really have to. You really are putting yourself in a precarious position, right? Because if they turn on you, I mean, it's like I think about those birds that clean the teeth of the hippos. If that hippo decides I'm hungry, crunch, you're dead, right? That's kind of what Disney is doing to these people. But then again, I could say the same thing about Disney putting in its lot with Shanghai. Just saying.
Yeah, well,
that's a whole other ball of wax. We've talked about it before. We'll talk about it another time when we talk about Disney finances. But karma's a bitch, Disney. I hope you get yours.
It looks like a lot of these services were employed by people to help with families that have members with disabilities of how they can navigate these parks better. And I don't know if Disney offers a service like that themselves.
It sounds like the services that they provide are at 3 times the cost of these independent providers. So I would just say, look, don't think about it as losing your business. Look at it as maybe I go over to the park that's got, more people going to it now.
I mean, I have no idea what Universal is like right now. I don't know if they have similar risks. I haven't heard anything news about them doing anything like this. And frankly, if I were Universal, what I would do, get in front of this and say, hey, listen, let's work with you, tour guide groups. Like, maybe you have to be officially registered with us.
Yeah.
We want things, but we'll let you operate, it'll be.
That would be a great way. You could outsource that service. And you can get in the good graces of the customers.
They're not going to be
You
doing
can give them inside information and say, look, this is a deal we're getting ready to run. Why don't you, let your people know about it? And sometimes
you get a special yearly pass or something. And since you have to be the tour.
And look, this is a deal
as long as you're respectful to the park and you're not trying to scam anybody.
This is a marketing trick that most people don't even think about or realize. A park like this decides they're doing a special deal, but they don't want to spend time promoting it. So they talk to the third party promoter or third party advocate and say, we're going to tell you about this. Anyone can get it, but we're not bothering to market it. So you play it off like it's a special deal you guys get. It makes them feel like $1 million, like they're getting something, and everybody's happy. If you do business like that, everybody wins. Disney is looking for how can we, and you listen to WDW Pro and all the other channels that are talking about how Disney's ratcheting up their prices, literally pricing themselves out of the market. Even wealthy people are going, I am not going to spend this much money on what you're providing. In fact, I've already been to Disney World. I don't want to go back anymore.
Because I've been to Disney World all my life, I've seen changes in the park over the years. And the last time I was there, I was not impressed overall because, frankly, I hate to say this, it's like they were trying to pick your pocket every 5 minutes. Like they had people selling like the lightsabers and it's not. Of course, you want to sell the merchandise, but it was like really being pushed. Do you understand? It's
there.
This is before Galaxy's Edge opened up too. This was.
I fully insist that there is nothing wrong with that kind of trying to pick people's pockets, as long as you do it in such a way that you make them want to hand over their money. You got something they want. Give it's like that Fry from Futurama. Shut up and take my money. Well,
yeah, but that's different. I mean, how can I put this? It's like when I went to a circus once, and every 5 minutes they're trying to sell something. Oh, you want to buy some circus beans? And I'm just trying to watch the show, dude.
Yeah,
I already paid for the ticket to see the show, and that's what it felt like.
Exactly. That's what that's exactly what Disney is doing that they should not be doing.
I mean, whenever I went to Disney parks, I want to buy the souvenirs anyway when I was a kid because it was cool. I got like a little Mickey Mouse card and things like that,
Right. The problem is, though, that nobody is even all that impressed about any of this crap anymore, And that's why you keep raising the price. It's like, I wasn't even really interested at a reasonable price.
Like now it's not exclusive stuff you can't get anywhere else. Like I think they were doing with some of that Star Wars stuff, but like here's some exclusive Marvel figures you can't buy anywhere else.
Well, what's interesting is with the Star Wars stuff, I hear they can't even give this crap away. Everything that they were selling at Galaxy's Edge has now made it to other parts of the park to be sold, and it's like nobody's really buying it. A lot of it has gone up on Shop Disney, and I kind of thumbed through it, and I was like, yeah, this is a bunch of crap that I'm not interested in. It's all this sequel trilogy crap that no one's going to buy, right?
Yeah. Eglantine from I Love Comics used to talk about all the time he went to Disney World and he was a regular Florida customer, not anymore. Yeah, if you live in Florida, you'll end up going to Disney more because it's in your backyard. But it's just, I haven't been there for not since, it was actually between Rise of Skywalker and, it was between Force Awakens and Last Jedi. It was somewhere between. I think it was right after Force Awakens came out, like that summer.
What about Universal? When was the last time you went there?
Not for a little while. Obviously, I'll be making a trip over there. I think about 10 years ago, I think was when I went to Universal. I did all the Harry Potter stuff, but not for a while.
Sure. But, well, you're gonna have to go and let us know what they've updated and stuff.
Last time I was there, it's funny because remember the Back to the Future ride? They replaced that with a Simpsons ride, similar vein where it's bumping around and you have a big screen in front of you. I don't know if the Simpsons area is still there. Or if that's another problem, Universal. You don't own the Simpsons anymore. You don't own Marvel. They used to have a Marvel park, and they can't. The whole thing with the Marvel park is they're allowed to update rides. They can't make new Marvel rides there. Disney says no because we own Marvel now. But Universal's stubborn. They don't want to get rid of the Marvel rides. They're based on the comics, so.
Well, we all know that Disney is a failing business in all areas. I mean, just take a look at what's happening with their movies right now. Looks like they're delaying. Well, they're gonna say it's all because of the strikes and whatnot, but we all know they're using that as an excuse because they're retooling a lot of stuff.
I've become convinced that Marvel went to pop when Disney bought the company. I think
no doubt about it.
Or when they bought Marvel Studios, I think that's when it happened. Yeah, because
when Marvel Studios was bought by Disney, for a brief moment they were doing well because they suddenly had an influx of cash. But that
I think they were just using all the ideas they had in place.
Yes, there was momentum. A momentum fueled by additional cast took them over that crest. But they immediately started going down the backslide, and they haven't let up.
After months of speculation amid the workplace stoppage caused by recently ended SAG-AFTRA strike, Deadpool 3 is being delayed by the Walt Disney Company. The comic book threequel has vacated its May 3rd, 2024 release date and is now to hit theaters in July 26, 2024. It's one of several movies that Disney announced on Thursday evening as the studio rejiggers its theatrical release slate. Deadpool 3 is now claiming the slot previously occupied by Captain America Brave New World, which has been pushed to February 14th, 2025. Additionally, Marvel's Thunderbolts has moved from December 20th, 2024 to July 25th, 2025. And its upcoming Blade reboot has shifted from February 15th, 2025 to November 7th, 2025. You should just make it 2035 at the rate that one's going.
I know.
Beyond Marvel, Disney has also delayed its upcoming prequel to 2019 CGI remake The Lion King. Mufasa: The Lion King, directed by Barry Jenkins, has moved from a July 5th, 2024 to December 20th, 2024. Oh, that'll be next year's big Christmas movie, huh? What do you think?
I'm just picturing the Jurassic Park Nedry thing. Nobody cares.
Additionally, the studio has vacated two other dates, July 25th and 2025, November 2025, which had planted flags for unspecified features. Disney used to be like, remember all the other studios were terrified of Disney, like they didn't want to go up against one of their movies years ago, and now it's I don't know. When the SAG after strike first began July, Deadpool 3 was forced to suspend production. And after nearly 4 months in limbo, Marvel Studios is planning to kick back into high gear with the filming set to get up and running before Thanksgiving break. However, chatter of a potential delay has been in the air for weeks as the actors' strike stretched into fall. Now, Deadpool 3 represents the only Marvel Studio film scheduled to hit theaters in 2024. A big swerve as the banner regularly unleashes 3 or 4 features a year. Well, Deadpool 3 is guaranteed to be a hit. I don't know if it'll be a good movie. We'll see. I don't know if Disney will hamstrung Ryan Reynolds with this production. But just based on the first two, people want to see this, and the fact
I have heard some
too. Yeah,
I have heard some behind the scenes scuttlebutt about some tension between the studio and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
and it's like
Jon Favreau and Lucasfilm.
It's like, look, do you even want this thing? Because if not, you want it to be a success, let him do his thing. You don't want it to be a success, don't even bother doing it, man.
Well, Deadpool 3 still has a fair amount of production to complete. It's notable that Captain America Brave New World, which will see Anthony Mackie Sam Wilson take on the Marvel mantle, has already completed principal photography prior to the SAG after strike. Though it
do better, Disney. You could do better. Just saying.
That show nobody watched. Anyway, though it is commonplace for Marvel Productions to require additional photography, nonetheless, it is now facing a 7-month delay. Meanwhile, Thunderbolts and Blade have yet to mount production at all. Thunderbolts was originally supposed to be slated to be out this summer.
What the hell's a Red Hulk?
Are you being Harrison Ford there?
Yeah, exactly.
With his gravelly voice. Yeah, okay. The decision for Deadpool to leave its May release date now leaves a sizable crater in next summer's blockbuster lineup. The first weekend of May is prime real estate for studios, usually representing a big kickoff for the season. Marvel has laid claim to the frame in recent years with titles like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. People are really hating that Doctor Strange movie now.
Yep.
They're really thinking that's where the shit really hit the fan, basically, with this.
It was well before that, but the brakes were off the cart by that point.
Yeah.
There was no doubting it.
Curiously, Disney has another tentpole set for May with 20 Studios' Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes slated for the 24th of the month, opening against Warner Brothers' Mad Max spinoff Furiosa. That might be interesting because that has Anya Taylor-Joy in the character Charlize Theron played. That might be interesting. But with Kingdom still sticking to its original date as opposed to moving up 3 weeks, it seems likely that some studio other than Disney will swoop in to claim the first stage of May. That is, if any film can be completed in time to make that date as productions begin again post-strike. Hold the phone. Wait a minute. They're both opening on the same date, Furiosa and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? Isn't that like a similar audience?
Probably.
Because it's both like this post-apocalyptic Earth, right?
Yeah.
And people surviving and stuff. It's kind of like it's kind of a similar audience, I think, for both movies, and they're going up against each other. That's not good. That'll be a story in May we'll be covering. Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
I would have put Planet of the Apes off Disney and picked another date for it, because that could probably be a slam dunk. But I don't know. It might lose to Furiosa. What do you think?
Um,
People
I
love the
actually
last
don't
Mad
know
Max
because
movie.
I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I've watched every single one of the Planet of the Apes movies and I didn't see the last Mad Max film.
Very popular. Had Tom Hardy in the role as Mad
Right.
Max, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't bad. It was basically just like another Mad Max movie. That's what it
Right.
was. Like another follow up. Um,
Where they at least were smart enough to recast the role for crying out loud.
yes. What was interesting when the bad guys are after Mad Max and them, they basically have like a whole train thing going, right? And
Right.
instead of like having like rock music blasting at a stereo, the guy actually had like a rock musician tethered to the stereo playing the guitar, like the electric guitar. Same director that made the old Mad Max movies made it too. I'm assuming he's making this Furiosa movie too. He's still making movies even now. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The Marvels get grounded with MCU's second lowest opening day.
Oh my gosh.
You
I got
see
some
the
things to
reviews
say
for
about
this
this
thing?
one. I got
I
some
think
things to
one
say
YouTuber I
about
watched,
this.
Alachia Queen, she was saying like, at some point this movie turns into a Disney princess movie, and it's like, who's the audience for this? It's like little girls.
Little
That's the
girls and
audience.
cat people, yeah.
Oh, okay. What a difference 4 years make. When Captain Marvel hit theaters in March 2019, it landed what was the seventh highest domestic opening weekend across the Marvel Cinematic Universe entries, with 153 million, a colossal figure that only one 2023 release Barbie has exceeded. Many people were suspicious of that opening, remember?
Yeah,
There were a lot of empty theater seats, but
exactly.
we've not been able to prove anything, but there was
Well, you
some.
can't prove it, but look, the trajectory of the business is it stands on its own.
Now, several superhero entries later, its new sequel, The Marvels, likely won't be able to reach even a third of its predecessor's debut. The comic book film landed the second lowest opening day gross ever across the 32 features in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, earning 21.5 million from 4,030 venues. That includes 6.6 million in previews. It barely surpasses 2008's The Incredible Hulk, which holds the record for the MCU's lowest domestic opening day at 21.46 million, and falls behind series starter Ant-Man, 22.6 million, not adjusted for inflation. If The Marvels doesn't pick up the pace, it will trail behind the opening weekend grosses of both those films, 55.4 million and 55.7 million respectively, to secure a franchise worst debut. Those are some concerning numbers for Marvel Studios. The once bulletproof production banner has earned nearly 30 billion at the box office since 2008, but has faced a downtrend in theatrical returns and various behind-the-scenes headaches in recent years. Even so, the Marvels hitting a superlatively low debut would come as an especially tough sting, given Marvel still scored two sizable openings from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 earlier this year. And there's also the hefty 220 million production price tag to account for the Marvels. Reviews for the superhero entry have been pretty lukewarm, especially compared to its 2019 predecessor. The audiences aren't exactly feeling it enthused either, as indicated by the B grade from research firm CinemaScore. It's not a disastrous reception, but continues an alarming downtrend for Marvel entries, which have been tested higher among early moviegoers. Neo DaCosta Candyman took over directing duties for the Marvels. The action. This is another thing I've noticed too. It's
Mm-hmm.
always taking over directing duties.
Yeah.
Like these
Why?
productions have multiple directors on them, which doesn't make any sense to me.
And it doesn't help the verisimilitude of it either. You notice when you hear people saying it seems like a completely different movie. That's probably because the director changed, and these were the scenes done by one director, and these were the scenes done by another.
Right. Yeah, it's just, and it doesn't match. It's like that. It's like Superman 2 had that problem. Remember, you had the Donner scenes and the Richard Wilson scenes. The action adventure spotlights a team up of heroines as Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, Tayona Paris as Monica Rambeau, and Iman Vellani as Ms. Marvel, crossing over after debuting in separate Marvel projects over recent years. And as suspected, I think people like Iman Vellani in this movie. They said she was the best part.
Yeah.
She should hopefully her career bounces back from this nonsense, but we'll see what happens. Also opening this weekend, Sony is putting out Journey to Bethlehem, a Christmas musical that takes it back way back to the nativity of Jesus Christ. The Afro Films production is projecting $2.835 million from 2002 locations, debuting outside the top 5. Wow. Okay. Have you heard of this movie?
No, I have not.
I'm curious about it now. I mean, there was Jesus Christ Superstar. I remember that musical. And Godspell. That was another one, right?
True.
Okay. Beyond Marvel, it's shaping up to be another quiet weekend at the box office. Universal and Blumhouse's Five Nights at Freddy's will nab silver despite its availability on streaming service Peacock. The adaptation of the popular horror video game series is projecting another sizable tumble, 53% its third weekend, adding $9 million to its domestic total. What's interesting about this is I believe this is also on Peacock, correct? Yeah, I think they said that.
I think so, yeah.
I could watch it now if I wanted to, instead of I just leave the stream and go watch Five Nights at Freddy's.
No. Go ahead. I'll carry on.
I'm fine. Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour concert film grossed $9 million on Friday with 2,848 venues, and is expected to earn $6.2 million its fifth week of release. The concert film should surpass $117 million domestic gross through the end of the 3-day frame, ranking it among the top 12 North American releases of the year. She'll be she'll be a presidential candidate in like 5 years, probably.
Whatever.
You're terrified at that prospect. Okay.
I don't think it can get worse, to be
I
honest
know,
with you.
but
So why not?
I don't know much about her, to be honest with you. It's a generation. She's been doing music for ages, though, so it's not that. But Killers of the Flower Moon is headed to fourth place, earning $1.5 million on Friday. Martin Scorsese's Epic is projected $5 million its fourth weekend of release, bringing its domestic total to $60 million, not close to matching its massive $200 million production budget. Guys. I like Martin Scorsese. Why does this thing cost $200 million?
Exactly.
About Joker was it was the R-rated movie, and whether you liked it or not, the whole point it was low budget, and it made its money back because it was a low budget movie. Priscilla looks to round out the top 5 with competitors projecting a 3-day gross of $4.5 million from 2,361 theaters. That's a welcome haul for Sofia Coppola film, not far from its $5 million debut last weekend. The well-received biopic should push beyond $12 million domestic total through Sunday. Okay.
So here's what I wanted to say about this whole thing. And you really don't try this at home, folks. But sometimes I post on social medias without giving regard to whether I should or not. But there was a poster that is clearly I don't know if it's a bot or a marketing page or what, but it's a blue check mark that their whole page is about promoting Disney, Marvel, specifically Captain Marvel, right? Nina DaCosta responds to claims she left post-production of The Marvels in new interview. For me personally, it was literally that they moved the date from the film 4 different times. More on the interview here. And some other shill comes in and says, what's interesting to me is that no one asked James Gunn about this when he left Guardians 3 to start work at DCU. Variety's framing of this entire thing was so irresponsible and harmful. Poor journalism. So I just couldn't resist. I said, seems fair to me. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 grossed over $845 million worldwide, the 4th highest grossing film of 2023.
Yes, it did well.
It'll be a miracle if the Marvels make half that and will still lose money. Failure raises obvious questions. Boom. Come back at me, folks. Seriously. It's apples and oranges. You're full of shit.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. No, I don't think anybody wanted to see the Marvels, but it's the show media. They're still doing it. I'm sure Grace Randolph was singing its praises too, right?
How the fuck do I know? I don't give a shit what she belches out.
Anyway.
Welcome, Gorilla Random Thoughts. Sorry you had to come in just as the Randolph was being invoked, but
anyway,
welcome.
I'm just saying... I don't know. I think I saw some thumbnail. Someone
has scary raccoon makeup too.
Anyway,
Atta boy, Troy Pacelli. Yeah,
I
there
remember
you
her
go,
take on
David.
the Mario movie. Airplane. It was a terrible movie, and it's like one of the biggest hits of the year.
It's like, shut up. Why is anyone still watching you? It's not like she's showing you her boobs or anything. Not that I'd
Nutcracker.
want to see them.
Anyway, Nutcracker and the Four Realms had 2 credited directors, and you can tell the differences in styles halfway through. And it was a Disney production. I had heard, I don't know if it was Chris Gore or somebody else had talked about this, and they thought the idea behind Nutcracker and the Four Realms was that it was Disney's attempt to try to make a Tim Burton movie without Tim Burton involved.
Not a good idea.
Can we do this Tim
Wait,
Burton style movie
what's
without
that?
Tim Burton?
What's that Tony Stark bit? Not a great plan.
Not a great plan, yes. But anyway, let's go to Five Nights at Freddy's, huh?
Yeah, we were just talking about that, right?
Talk about this. That's right. We got all distracted.
That seems like a good pivot point.
Five Nights at Freddy's director Emma Tammy has opened up about why the film contained fewer jump scares than are present in the original game. The series, created by Scott Cawthon, began as a series of survival horror video games where the player would get a jump scare if an animatronic caught them. However, the movie adaptation has fewer surprising frights, instead focusing on its story. Speaking with Cinema Blend, Tammy revealed why the Five Nights at Freddy's movie had less of a focus on jump scares from the games. The director underscored how Cawthon, who wrote the film's screenplay, wanted to focus on the human elements of the story, weaving them with familiar elements of the franchise. Check out what Tammy had to say below. When I first came on board with the project, the existing version of the script that I read, that was one of the things that really stuck out to me when I first read it. It was very clear that Scott wanted to bring real and complex human stories into the fold of the movie, and also to hang the jump scares and hang the world of the pizzeria onto those character stories with big backstories and arcs. So that was something I was really drawn to as a storyteller, that there was so much more there in terms of the character development, and I was trying to bring that to life as much as I could. Five Nights at Freddy benefited from less jump scares. Without the use of jump scares, the movie had to focus on a variety of different elements in order to make the finished story more engaging. One key decision was to make Mike Schmidt a sympathetic character with an arc related to the main story. As a security guard that encounters the haunted animatronics, he fights a custody battle for his sister Abby. The complexity of his story introduces dream theory to Five Nights at Freddy's, offering a different take on his time working there. The personal focus also allowed the movie to heavily explore its own backstory and lore, something the games are well known for. Not everything in the film correlates with the events of the game series. The movie takes familiar elements from across the franchise to develop its own similar yet unique storyline. Doing this gives the movie a chance to explore other types of horror while appealing to what gamers already experience. Yeah. It's clear the decision to dampen the number of jump scares has worked in the film's favor, as made $215.8 million as of the writing. Okay. How something does at the box office does not dictate how good the movie is.
Yeah, the problem with that, I was immediately thinking as you were saying that sentence, it's like, yeah, but we'll never know how good it could have been if it had a whole bunch of jump scares and a bunch of people were coming out of there saying, I nearly crap myself. And then people start going and, oh, well, I want to see this movie now. But I'm not making a judgment either way. I haven't seen the quality
of the movie, but the point is, it's like a while ago, there was this one band I listened to called the Duke Spirit, and one guy wrote the review for says, oh, this band took 3 years to get their next album out. It's like, so much lost momentum and all this, and it's probably one of he's doing all this industry stuff, talking the review, and people were saying, were the songs any good? That's what they were wanting to know
exactly.
in the review, and that's what this is feeling like here. I haven't seen this movie yet. Matthew Lillard signed on to 3 Five Nights Freddy's films, including a trilogy as in store. I like Matthew Lillard. I'll say that. I think he got a role deal.
Scene says the movie wasn't bad as is, and I generally agree with his reviews, especially of these types of scary movies.
Yes.
I will provide an alternate take on it. The Critical Drinker did kind of diss it a little bit for not,
Yeah.
Although he seemed to have been of. And maybe I'm projecting a little bit on what he said. I feel like I think jump scares are cheap. They work much better in a horror game. And as the drinker points out, the first Five Nights at Freddy's, there's not enough story there to make a movie out of. You have to develop the character. Because again, keep in mind the character you're playing is kind of a generic you insert. You know, you are the backstory for that. So if you're going to do a movie, you kind of need to create a character there. Now, I don't know if they ran afoul of any of the rich lore that I know exists out there. I don't know if this unnamed, security guy, has any story in the greater FNAF universe that they might
FNAF.
be running afoul of. Huh?
Yeah, FNAF, that's what people call it.
Yeah.
I work with someone who's a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan. She's read a lot of the books and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
So, do you like the movie already?
So, but I will tell you this, that when it comes to horror, 1 or 2 jump scares, okay, but by and large, I consider them to be cheap. That you could be much scarier with implied story than with a jump scare, in my opinion. I am not going to leave the theater scared because of jump scares. I am going to leave the theater scared because I'm thinking through, some horrifying element of the story. Samuel Proctor says there's actually a lot of deep hidden backstory in the game, in the backgrounds, in the first game and the sequel. That was the
golden age
of the game theory as a channel. Yeah, and I know about that, but I'm talking specifically about the main, in quotes, main character, which is the player insert, the security guard. Does he have a lot of rich backstory? I don't know. But if you're going to tell his story, you kind of have to have a story to tell. So I'm not going to hold that against them if they did it well and it doesn't run afoul of all the other stuff that's going on in the background. And my other question is, all that stuff that you just described, Samuel Proctor, is that either in this movie or not overwritten by this movie so that future movies can explore that lore? Because let's face it, that's really why people love Five Nights at Freddy's, and that's really why this movie can be a franchise that can do really well. I've heard people talking about, welcome, by the way, Boosh McFadden. I've heard people talking about how they could do some great marketing tie-ins with Chuck E. Cheese, or as some have pointed out, even Pizza Hut.
Imagine having slumber party nights at Chuck E. Cheese, but done as Five Nights at Freddy's, right?
Right, especially around
Halloween,
like Halloween, yeah, exactly. But someone else pointed out, there's a lot of Pizza Huts out there that have the infrastructure for those restaurants that they aren't using anymore, because they've all gone to, delivery and pickup and whatnot. Yeah. Those restaurants could be, retroactively redesigned, add some animatronics and stuff. They could really do something there. I'm not sure if they'd want to do that with Chuck E. Cheese. Makes a lot of sense, but it might also feel like, I don't want your lore kind of bleeding into our brand,
I miss sit-down Pizza Hut restaurants.
I do too. I really do.
They were a little more upscale than just the delivery ones.
I used to love those. There was one by an office
chain, they were more like a chain, like an Applebee's-esque restaurant, around that level. And
there was one by my office that I used to go to for lunch on a almost weekly basis.
They would have the buffet.
Yeah, it was great.
Did you ever try the barbecue beef pizza?
I did. I didn't hate it, but it's not something I would really order.
Okay, I don't know what it was. I had a friend from Kansas, and he's like, "You gotta try the." And he's like, "I can't believe you guys are in." So I ate a piece, and I was like, "Oh, holy cow! I really liked it. I didn't realize."
I can see that, but
it's not for everybody. Yeah,
but you got to understand, I'm not a big. I don't care for those sweet barbecue beef, pulled pork type.
You're probably more of a fan of the mustard barbecue than the
or dry rubs.
Yeah, rubs. Yeah.
So that I wouldn't be the market for that. I'll tell you one kind of pizza that might surprise people that I really do like. I like taco pizzas. I've had those, and those are really good. And I just recently saw a recipe recipe like TikTok, whatever you'd call it, for a cheeseburger pizza that I'm thinking about making one of these days.
Okay, well, that sounds interesting. You'll have to let us know how it turns out.
Oh, absolutely.
As far as me and the jump scares, I'm not as harsh on them as other people. Horror movies are always hit or miss, but it's funny though. I got a game recently that had a jump scare in it. Right? It's called. It was made. It was made in the country. It takes place in Taiwan and was made by Taiwanese game developers. You know, the country of Taiwan. That is a country.
Yes.
The
Yes, it
country of
is.
Taiwan. Okay.
Yeah.
And it takes.
And
place
it's not
in Taiwan.
China until China invades it next year.
Yikes. Oh, no.
Bush McFadden, I
But
don't
it
know
had a
if this
jump
was.
scare in it with this ghost coming after me, and I freaked out a little bit. Yeah,
I can imagine. I've played some of these games. I've messed more than my fair share of gaming chairs. Bush McFadden says Paranormal Activity was disturbing. I only remember one jump scare. It was just creepy and unsettling. In the first Paranormal Activity, unless you're referring to towards the end of the movie, you know, where the camera gets knocked over, being a jump scare, and it's iffy if you call that a jump scare. That might get under the radar of being called a jump scare, but yes, the eeriness, the non-jump scaredness of it is kind of creepy, because you'll watch these segments and then just nothing will be happening, and then all of a sudden a light will go on in the back room down the hall where there's nobody at.
Yeah.
That is creepy as hell.
Who's in the room and who's going to go investigate? Yeah.
And the whole thing of the wife getting up and walking around and just standing there and moving, you know, like in a haze. I think I've told that story where after having seen that movie one night, Netter got up to go to the bathroom, and she's coming back, walking around. She's standing at the foot of the bed, and she's doing that. She's like moving like that. What I couldn't see, though, is that she was stopped because she was rubbing her eye, you know, like you do when you're tired. And I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" She says, "I'm just rubbing my eye." I'm like, "Paranormal Activity." She's like, "Oh, you can't be serious." I'm like, "I am. Get in bed."
Like she's rubbing her eye and just standing in front of the bed and there's doing something with her eye.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Welcome, Mr. Matchstick.
Good to see you.
Yeah, that's a jump scare for you. Loud scream, body being thrown down. Anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch this Five Nights at Freddy's movie as someone who's uninitiated with this series. Maybe I'll see if it does anything for me.
I'm going to have to, after this is done, start. I really don't want to go back to Matt Pat, to be honest with you, but yeah, he did the Game Theory channel, and I don't care much for his channel anymore, but I do want to dig into the lore, so maybe I'll see if there's any other channels out there that are doing good work on that and start digging into it again.
Yes, but for the little Pete, never mind. All right, I was going to try to. Okay. Anyway, let's move to the next story.
Yeah, so we were talking about James. Whoops, this is another one of those I got split up into two parts. We were talking about James Gunn moving over to DC. Well, there was a little bit of news. Apparently, a major Wonder Woman casting reportedly made by James Gunn and DC Studios.
Yes. Okay.
We're not getting a lot of news coming out of that camp, so we'll bring you what we can.
According to recent reports, James Gunn and DC Studios made a major Wonder Woman casting decision for Gunn's version of the DC Universe.
Yep.
And it's not what you think.
Yeah.
It's the villain. Okay,
yeah.
Who they're thinking of. Okay. The two DC Studios reportedly cast iconic Wonder Woman villain. The two Wonder Woman films have already introduced audiences to two of the most memorable out of the series, Ares, David Thewlis, and Cheetah, Kristen Wiig. However, the Amazonian still has a long list of villains that have yet to make a motion picture appearance. One of those is the evil sorceress Circe. While she is a character in DC Comics, Circe is most recognized by her appearance in the Odyssey by Homer.
Yep.
not Simpson, just Homer. Okay, where she turns Odysseus' whole battalion into various animals, including pigs. She repeated this effect again in Justice League Unlimited 2000 episode, This Little Piggy, where she turns Wonder Woman into a pig. This episode is particularly memorable because it gets Batman, voiced by the late Kevin Conroy, to sing the jazz standard Am I Blue. Check it out. It's breathtaking. It's all right. Some of the episodes on Unlimited got goofy. There's a funny scene because Wonder Woman has a crush on Batman.
Right.
It's later that she's liking him. She's liking Bruce Wayne. Like she may want to have them be a thing. And he says, "You're an immortal Amazon princess, and I have and I forget what he says. I mean, he says something to the effect of, I have a lot of enemies that will come after the people I love." And then like she breaks a rock in her hand and says, "Next."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are they going to do to me? That's what she's saying.
That is a great point,
It was
right?
dumb. He should have gotten with her. He was weird. Batman's weird.
Well,
anyway.
in the comics, from time to time they have.
Okay.
That wasn't in a vacuum, but I do think though that you see this happen. You see these implied relationships between the Justice League characters, but they always come around to Bruce ends up with Selina. Clark ends up with Lois.
Yes.
And Wonder Woman.
Steve Trevor?
Well, unless they do something like they did with the movies where he's a World War whatever character who's dead now and, has to inhabit someone else's body to get it on with Wonder Woman. I don't know.
That was so weird.
Yes, it should be Steve Trevor. I agree.
British actress Anya Chalotra has been cast as Cersei in Creature Commandos, the first show in James Gunn's version of the DC Universe. This has been corroborated at home in DC. This doesn't mean that Cersei is going to show up in a Wonder Woman movie. Anya Chalotra has also been acting since 2017, and she's been on The Witcher as Yennefer. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess I could use Cersei in a Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, she is in the comics. At least I don't remember like Gold and Silver Age, but definitely Bronze Age with George Perez and Marv Wolfman. They did a great storyline involving Cersei in that whole reboot of Wonder Woman. If they follow the Bronze Age, post-crisis reboot of the DC Universe under Gunn, they could have some real successes here, but I don't really have any reason to have a great deal of faith here, but we'll see. Cersei also could play off the Creature Commandos. I could also see her crossing.
She's the witch character in Creature Commandos. That makes sense.
Yes.
You have a witch character in that, probably.
She does have the potential for being an anti-hero type character, but
maybe.
I don't know. We'll see what they do with her.
She wasn't completely evil when Batman sang the song for her. She basically said, "Okay," she turned Wonder Woman back. Just went on her merry way.
So you're like a good demon, bringing the fun in?
No, it's funny. It's just Justice League Unlimited. I had issues when it got to Unlimited. I still watched it. It had good points, like the episode where the Flash and Lex Luthor switched brains. Plus I like the fact that Gorilla Grodd was running the Legion of Doom, because I'm a big fan of Gorilla Grodd, who was voiced by Powers Booth in the DC animated universe.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there have been multiple reports throughout the year regarding whether Gal Gadot would return as Wonder Woman, despite Gadot seemingly confident that she would return. The most recent reports say otherwise. On top of that, there have been multiple famous names rumored to replace her, including Ana de Armas, Jamie Alexander, Naomi Scott, and Jodie Corner. I think I have in big...
Personally, I think they should cast Salty J. That's just my opinion.
Salty J. Apparently she's going to be in a movie. I saw
Is she really?
Yes. Maybe, I don't know if it's a small movie, but... no, who I want cast is Grace Fulton, and I don't know if I can share this. Hold on. I don't want to share my screen. My desktop is cluttered, but maybe I can turn this JPEG into a PDF. Give me a second, because it doesn't take anything in PDFs. I think she is spot on.
Oh, she's the one from Shazam.
Yes, she's the one from Shazam. Export one photo as a PDF, please. As a PNG. This is not going to work. Anyway, Grace Fulton, that's her name. Look her up. She has been in Captain. She was in Captain.
She played
Marvel.
Mary Marvel.
She played Mary Marvel. I'm sorry. Look at her.
Yeah, she'd be good.
She looks like Wonder Woman. She'd
be good.
She has the long dark hair. She has a nice figure. Great face. She'd be perfect as Wonder Woman. She's already done the superhero thing for DC. And don't say it's unreal, because Steve, what is it? Chris, not Hemsworth, the other Chris, the one who played Captain America. Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans. Chris Evans played Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four movies. Yeah. Then he went on to play Captain America. So you can have her go from Mary Marvel to Wonder Woman.
Do you know who else?
She is amazing. Yeah, she looks like a goddess. You're right.
Do you know who else would make a great Wonder Woman?
Who?
Gina Carano.
It's funny. I remember back in the day, people were saying that after the movie.
She was in a Deadpool movie. Deadpool movie.
Yeah, but no, she was in Haywire, and they're thinking, look at this. She'd be a great Wonder Woman too, but I unfortunately, Disney had to sabotage her career.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of coming around again. I think she's kind of getting her justification, and I think a lot of people are kind of getting egg on their face over all of that.
I hope so. But we'll see what happens in the future. I just don't know. But I don't know.
You want to talk a little bit of Zelda?
Yeah, I'm not going to hang too much on. Actually, I will hang a little bit on this. So let's go to Zelda. I'm just going to pick one of these. Pick the second article.
The second one? Okay. Yeah, because I realized I had two here. They're basically
I should have told you that. Yeah, there is a Legend of Zelda movie in the works. I knew this was going to happen at some point. I didn't realize it had been in development for as long as it has been. I kept thinking this was going to be another Universal animated project, much in the same way the Super Mario Brothers movie was. But no, this is going to be something. Well, let me get into this here. This is the Variety article, right?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Did I click on it? Yes, I did. All right. Let me go ahead and read a bit from this. Hollywood Meet Hyrule. Nintendo is developing a live-action film based on The Legend of Zelda. Creator and game developer Shigeru Miyamoto announced. The gaming legend, took to Nintendo's official X Twitter account to write, "This is Miyamoto. I've been working on the live-action film of The Legend of Zelda for many years now with Avi Arad-san, who has produced many mega-hit films." He continued, "I've asked Avi-san to produce this film with me, and we have now officially started the development of the film with Nintendo itself heavily involved in the production. It will take time until its completion, but I hope you look forward to seeing it. The movie will be directed by Wes Ball, who helmed the Maze Runner trilogy and the upcoming Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie." Okay, so that piques my interest a bit.
Yeah.
Written by Jurassic World screenwriter Derek Connolly, more on him in a minute, and produced by Miyamoto, whose involvement in 2023's The Super Mario Brothers movie helped make it a groundbreaking box office success. Ball also produces with Joe Hartwick Jr. under their Oddball Entertainment banner. The Zelda movie is co-produced by Arad, whose credits include every live-action Spider-Man movie and the Spider-Verse animated films. The film will be co-financed by Nintendo and Sony Pictures Entertainment. This is so weird to me.
Yeah.
Nintendo, did you know that back in the day, Nintendo and Sony were allied on the Super Nintendo? Sony made the sound chip for the Super Nintendo. But then they were going to make a CD add-on to compete with Sega's Sega CD add-on, and Sony was going to develop it. And then Nintendo just decided, we're not going to do that, because I think they just did that to get people to shy away from the Sega CD, right? The trouble is they basically told Sony all their secrets, and Sony decided, well, we can just make our own CD-based system now. And that's where the PlayStation came from. In fact, it was originally called, the add-on was going to be called the Nintendo PlayStation. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Isn't that funny?
That's wild, yeah.
But it's weird. Now the motion picture division of Sony is working with Nintendo on this movie. Times change, to coin a phrase that was used earlier, right? Okay.
Yeah.
After decades of wariness when it came to adapting its video game franchises, partially stemming from the failure of 1993's live-action Super Mario Brothers, Nintendo reached... Okay, I know about Super Mario Brothers movie. Okay, the reason we're so resistant and careful to adapt our games to the movies is because in video games, there is always a player who overcomes challenges and fights their way through. Miyamoto told Variety in April cover story. Their struggle redoing levels over and over again is all part of it. He continued, just following the plot points of the video games will never work as a movie. Without the involvement of the player, it won't meet expectations. So it's not going to be like certain Ahsoka series where it's just, do fetch quests, go to point A to point B. Because maybe they realize that just because it happens in the games, you don't want to do that in the movie, right?
Right.
I don't know. Plot and casting details are still under wraps, but the video game series follows the elf-like warrior Link, who sets out to defeat the evil Ganon and rescue Zelda, the Princess of Hyrule. The latest installment in the Zelda series is 2023's Tears of the Kingdom, which sold more than 10 million copies in its first 3 days. It's funny. I was looking online and people were doing casting speculation, and I saw Tom Holland as Link, and I screamed no. I saw Daisy Ridley as Princess Zelda. I said, hell no. And then I saw Idris Elba as Ganon, and I said, well, maybe. I could maybe see him as the villain, but I don't know about this. I'm cautiously optimistic because I think Nintendo is involved. But there is one red flag I want to give. Okay, let's talk about the screenwriter. I brought up his record of stuff that he's done. Okay. Filmography for what was his name again? Hold on, just give me a second. We just had his name a second ago. Bear with me. Okay, who was the screenwriter again?
For Link?
For this movie, who did they got? Jurassic World. Okay, wait a minute. West Ball. Derek Connolly. Sorry about that. I should have written his name down. Derek Connolly. So I pulled up his screenplays. Safety Not Guaranteed. Remember that one?
Yeah.
The time travel one. That wasn't bad, right?
Right.
Jurassic World. Don't care what y'all say. I like the first Jurassic World. I thought it was fun. People may argue. Monster Trucks. That kind of came and went, and I didn't touch it. Kong Skull Island. I did like Kong Skull Island. You see that one?
I did, okay. Yeah.
Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom. Didn't hate it, but didn't like it as much as Jurassic World. Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So it's weird he sort of worked on a Nintendo adjacent property already. So we co-wrote the screenplay on that. And here we have Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, great.
The story with Colin Trevorrow. No!
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it was one of the early screenplays that they shot and that Kathleen Kennedy can. Remember there was that whole movie they had which said that was better than what got released. Remember that one executive producer? Or maybe that's the one he worked on. And then Jurassic World Dominion, which was just stupid. I didn't like that movie at all. But
yeah.
So he's hit or miss, it looks like. We'll see. But I got a little pause when I saw Rise of Skywalker on the credit list. What do you think?
I don't have a dog in the hunt. I hope it's good. I don't know too much about the lore on these games, but
it has
you're right,
lore.
Hit or miss.
It's I don't want to say it's like Lord of the Rings, but it has its own lore like that. Like there have been so many games over the years that they've added to the lore over the years. So
yeah.
A whole kingdom. What's interesting about the recent games is these take place tens of thousands of years from the original Ocarina of Time, which was kind of like the origin story for Ganon and all that.
Sure.
And what's neat about the new games is, like in the past, there was a high period of Hyrule where they had a lot of technology, and then that got lost. And that's sort of where you are now. So there was already a high period, which we haven't even explored yet. So maybe that's what the movie will be set in. They could base it on one of the games. They could set it in a period which wasn't covered by any of the games. Because the idea is Link and Zelda always get reincarnated. That's the idea.
Gotcha.
And they always look different in the games too. Like there's always stylistically different choices of how they look. So theoretically, if they wanted to use different actors in the series and just use different actors, like if they do like a trilogy or something and then want to do another trilogy later on, they could use different actors because it's not really going against game canon.
Yeah, sure. As long as you're changing era, change the actor. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't think it's an issue because I think the idea is. And that's usually in these games too. The Link character doesn't even realize he's the destined hero. Do you understand? He's usually just, like I think of when he was working on a farm. He was just. But Trevorrow and Connolly's version was a step in the right direction. Chris Terrio was the final writer. Okay, just confirming my theory that Ben Affleck really wrote Argo. Okay, interesting. So you're saying that his original version of the screenplay was probably better. Apparently he worked on something called Star Wars Duel of the Fates that never got made. That was the original screenplay. Which was a better title than Rise of Skywalker because it was
that's for sure,
John Williams track. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not necessarily. You can't always necessarily blame the screenwriters because sometimes it's interference with other people that mess things up. So we'll see. Plus, let's be honest here, Nintendo is going to have final say on anything in this production. They're the majority stakeholder in this, not even Sony. But I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll see. What do you think?
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's something new.
If they do Ocarina of Time, it'll be a time travel movie.
And from my understanding of Ocarina of Time, it was really good time travel. So
They were very clever in how they did it, because here's what happens. You go to the Temple of Time and you want to get the Master Sword, and the sages say, you're a kid, you can't take the Master Sword. We'll hold you until you're old enough. And like you're basically held in stasis until you grow old enough, and like you're 18 or something, and then you walk out with the sword. And by that point, the villain has conquered the kingdom and everything's awful. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But then you can use the Ocarina of Time to time travel, and when you time travel to the past, you're your younger self, and you can set stuff up in the past to help you in the future where everything's gone bad. Do you understand?
Yeah, I like that. Very four-dimensional thinking. Yeah.
They're very, even the old Zelda games, there's brain teasers in them. They should have those in the movie if they can figure out a way to do it in a movie. Like I was playing Link's Awakening recently, the old Game Boy game, and even the old Game Boy game, there's some twist logic, like you have to find these Pegasus boots to run fast and destroy this thing, but you can't get to this thing without the Pegasus boots. It's one of those things that drives you crazy because you need this particular object to do the thing you have to do to get further, And it's anyway.
Yeah, that's the problem too. you have to these games are written by very clever people that come up with very clever plot points, forcing you as a player to be clever. Unfortunately, the writers of these movies are not that intelligent and not that clever.
And we don't.
Or even if they are, they assume that the audience isn't. And they always make it crappy. They put a chick in it and they make it lame.
Yeah, it's interesting that this will be a live action movie though. And it's weird, just like in most fantasy settings, there are different races in the world of Zelda too. Like there's like an aquatic people race.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like, and then they're these mountain people guys that look like, I think they eat rocks or something. They're like stone people. The Gorons. Sure. It's funny. One of the games you have to sumo wrestler one of them, and that's how you learn new moves. You have to do a sumo wrestling thing. And one of them. Anyway, I don't know. Never mind. I'm getting off track. We'll see how it turns out. I hope it's fun. I hope it could be like the new Lord of the Rings or the new Star Wars movie, since. Especially Star Wars is not cutting the mustard these days.
If they do it right, it can be.
Okay, so we'll see. Let's go to SAG-AFTRA. Strike is over.
Yeah. For better or for worse. We'll get into it.
I think they get the wrong people for these legacy projects. They tend to, yes, that's part of the problem. Thor, Love, and Thunder, I'm looking at you. Anyway.
Exactly.
SAG-AFTRA's new contract is worth more than $1 billion over 3 years, but the union did not get to one of its top priorities, a share of revenue from each streaming platform. Fran Drescher, the union president, made her top priority, arguing it was essential to transform the contract to keep up with a transformed industry. She saw 2% of the streaming revenue, later cut it to 1%, and about $500 million per year. The studios vowed that it would never happen, and it did not. Instead, the union won a streaming participation bonus that will be worth about $40 million annually, according to Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the union's top negotiator. It's not $500 million, he said in an interview on Thursday. We were never expecting that would be the ultimate number. Well, that's what he's saying now. On the other hand, adding something that is worth $120 million over the term of the contract is significant. Actors' residuals on made-for-streaming shows are capped at fairly low levels. An actor on 1 hour episode of an Amazon show would make more than $2,000 in the first year of reuse. The same episode on a broadcast network would pay up to $3,600 for each rerun, with the potential for multiple reruns a year. Drescher argued that in order for actors to be able to sustain a livelihood in the streaming era, it was essential to get into the pocket of the streaming revenue. We have to find the pocket of that money, so we get our rightful share, because we're building this platform and they are building the business on us, she told Variety in July. When the studios refused to share revenue, SAG-AFTRA came back with a proposal of 57 cents per subscriber fee. That too went nowhere. It became clear during the course of the strike that the studios and streamers weren't going to go there, Crabtree Ireland said, so our committee decided to pivot. They ended up with a streaming bonus that is modeled on the terms of the Writers Guild of America. Under the WGA deal, writers on successful streaming shows will get a 50% bonus on the standard residual, A successful show is one that attracts viewers amounting to 20% of the platform subscriber base in the first 90 days. So what does that mean? Repeated views of a successful show will get them a higher residual?
It should, yeah.
Okay,
That would make sense.
That sort of sounds like how syndication would work if your show got picked up.
Like I said from the beginning, if they just followed that model, this is where it's going.
But they were doing other things. Okay.
Yeah, they just have to fight these battles over and over again. Every time there's a new platform, every time there's a new technology.
Is this our pivot?
Well, what I was going to say too is
Okay.
what I was going to say too is that the official announcement came out on the 8th. They said this was from the SAG-AFTRA Twix site. You know, their official announcement. Dear SAG-AFTRA members, we are thrilled and proud to tell you that today your TV Theatrical Negotiation Committee voted unanimously to approve a tentative agreement with the PTP. As of 12:01 a.m. Pacific time on November 9th, our strike is officially suspended and all picket locations are closed. We will be in touch in the coming days with information about celebration gatherings around the country. Now, Thursday, during Netter's Thursday Things, Tom Conkle dropped into the chat to let us know that he is getting back to work because the strike is over. He's no longer on the strike line. So that was nice to hear, which means he's probably going to be even busier than he was before. But this also means that you're starting to see a lot of... one of the areas that people are going back to work in is not only getting back to filming stuff, and I'll get to that in just a second, but they're also being pulled in to start marketing again, because that was one of the big things. Stuff that was being postponed because we want the stars to market it and help get people in seats.
That's
and blah,
why.
blah, blah,
That's
blah.
why the Marvels failed. They didn't have Brie Larson.
Oh yeah, that was exactly what it was. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that because they have been pushing Brie out onto the marketing train over the weekend, and from everything I've heard, she's being real low key, doing all the things that you would expect a star to do to promote a movie, but it's clearly not having any impact.
Talk up your Apple series. That's what I would do.
It's all too little too late because nobody wants to hear her voice anymore. She's already kind of destroyed her own reputation, so even if she's not saying stuff that pisses people off, doesn't matter. They're not going to be listening to her. Now, another thing that I heard from Script Doctor, I think he was on Midnight's Edge, he was talking about this, saying that normally in the U.S. during the holidays, they kind of shut down come Thanksgiving, and, they don't much work, through the new year. And apparently that's not the case on a lot of projects. A lot of projects are, sorry guys, you guys took off so much time, we got to get caught up. So they're going to get like the standard 4 days for Thanksgiving and then back to work. And then the standard 4 days for Christmas and then back to work. Yeah. Because, that's just how it is. And all of America is looking at and saying, oh, you poor Hollywood people having to work through. No, everyone in America is saying, good, that's how I have to work. You get back to work too, you lazy slobs.
Bush McFadden had a comment. Their wages were never the problem. The inflation they voted for is the problem.
Well, there's that. But then,
it's the ones that have the least money. Yes.
But then, if you want to take a jump over to the pivot and get the other side of it, Justine Bateman slams SAG-AFTRA's tentative deal regarding the AI provisions. Now
they basically do nothing with the AI provision. Is that what happened here?
Not nothing, but you'll kind of have to get into the article. But just a reminder, Justine Bateman, most of you all would know her as the sister Mallory from Family. What was it? Family Ties. Family Ties. The Michael J. Fox.
Yes,
Family Ties. Thank you. Yeah.
And I remember her. Yeah, she was in some movies too. Back in the 80s.
Yes, she was.
Though SAG-AFTRA officially reached a tentative agreement on a new contract with studios and streamers earlier this week, Justine Bateman is not very pleased with the provisions surrounding artificial intelligence. The actress, writer, filmmaker told MSNBC's Ali Velshi on Friday that actors should approve the deal only if they don't want to work anymore. If they want to be replaced by synthetic objects that are made by generative AI, why not? SAG-AFTRA members are set to begin voting to ratify the agreement on Tuesday after the new contract was approved by 86% of union board members on Friday. Velshi went on to reference a recent story from the Hollywood Reporter. DreamWorks founder Jeffrey Katzenberg predicts that AI will drastically cut the number of workers it takes to make animated films.
Yep.
In response, Bateman, who served as a union advisor for generative AI, said she feels studio executives are choosing to no longer be in the film and series business. I think they sort of think of themselves as being tech barons themselves or something, but doing projects that don't involve humans. You're not in the film business anymore, she added. People who don't want to have any human involved have never really been on set. They don't know what it's like to make a film. Bateman said for herself as a filmmaker, she's never used generative AI. I like what people do as members of a crew, members of the writers, the editors, the cinematographers, the makeup artists, the actors. Velshi also asked the filmmaker what consumers of entertainment and media can do to help protect creatives in the industry who want to avoid using AI. Bateman said it depends on what you want. I mean, soon they'll have customized films for you based on your particular viewing history, she explained, and they won't bother to copyright them because it'll be like Kleenex. They'll make 1 million of them in an hour. It won't matter to them. You can get yourself scanned and get yourself put in these pieces. And there will be a novelty.
I would interject, by the way, that not only would they not bother, legally they won't be able to. Anything created by AI cannot be copywritten. Right. There's case law on that already.
I would argue, Justine, if you're a filmmaker, maybe make a movie about this. About the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Did you want to get into the full-on article with Katzenberger?
Yeah, we'll just touch on a couple comments from it posted.
Sure.
This is, I don't know. Oh Lord, she goes on forever with this. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and move on. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if what she's predicting will really be coming to pass or not. I don't know. I have done some image making in AI though recently for a school project.
Yep, I have too, and I've been doing some sound work. I was talking with a creator behind the scenes a little bit about using AI. Voice generation and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember.
It is still very much in its infancy.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but things are progressing quickly. And I know we were all pretty critical of them saying, "Oh yeah, but this is a long way down the way." But no, there's a case working its way right now through the courts about a teenage girl who was alerted to the fact that there was some deep fakes made of her using this generative AI by her classmates.
Interesting.
And there's question over whether or not she has any rights to her own image. However, the element of her being underage might be a big factor, but what if she wasn't underage? Would that mean, sorry, anyone can do whatever they want because it's AI? It's getting a little scary, and sometimes you can't tell it's AI. So, and every time people try to make a joke about, oh yeah, but then the girl's got 3 legs and 12 fingers on one hand. Yeah, 1 or 2 generations of software from now will start correcting all of that stuff.
You know what's interesting for artists? So they always say the hands are the hardest, right? So it makes sense that the AI is still having trouble with that.
Yes, but there are ways you can go in and say, right. You can program in logic that says, in general, the default should be 5 fingers on a hand, and whatnot. Only if you specifically count more fingers on a hand, because I could imagine that scene from the Star Wars Holiday Special where he holds up his hand and he's got 6 fingers. That's part of the joke. So if that's what you're drawing from, realize that is the outlier and not the norm. ordinarily humans only have 2 legs, stuff like that. And when you start making those kinds of adjustments to the AI algorithms, things start getting better and better as you go. And as you, as a programmer, start to understand it better, and remember, there is programming involved still. You still need a human telling the computer what you want. Shad over at Shadiversity, has done a number of great videos talking about creating AI art, and it's not as simple as just make it and it's done. You got to be very specific. You've got to refine your requests. Sometimes it's close but not quite, so you still have to do some Photoshop work on it, but the tool is getting better, and it's getting better exponentially. So these concerns are rather grounded.
Yeah. The program I use, I typed in, here's what I did. I typed in sexy female librarian, right?
Okay. And it showed you a picture of your coworker.
Funny. No, what it did was this was for like a cartoon character, and it said, "You violated we can't show you that." No, it got all angry at me at this thing because it's like for students. Okay, so I typed in, attractive female librarian. I got a reasonably attractive a female librarian, and then I think I put in white. You can put in racist too, so I did white, and then I said attractive Latina librarian, and she was sexier looking for whatever reason. Like she had more curves. So I don't know what the AI program was doing, but
well, here's the interesting thing, because I kind of do understand how the algorithm works. You can tell it things that are fairly innocuous, but if the majority of the source material is drawing from tends to be a little bit on the blue side.
Okay, I see.
You see how it's gonna, exactly.
All right, let me just go from Katzenberg. I'll read this quote.
Sure.
If you look at the sort of historical perspective, when we went from a pen, a paintbrush, a printing press, a still camera, movie camera, these are things that just expanded creativity in all sorts of storytelling extraordinary ways, and we've seen how it's continued to evolve. Katzenberg said it's been explosive over the last 10 years. I think if you look at how media has been impacted by the last 10 years, the introduction of digital technology, that will happen in the next 10 years and will be 10 times as great, literally by a greater factor. And he's actually full on with this AI stuff. I think on the one hand, it will be disruptive and commoditize things that are inaccessible artists and storytellers. They said in the good old days when I made an animated movie, it took over 500 artists 5 years to make a world-class animated movie. I think it won't take 10% of that. Literally, I don't think it will take 10% of that 3 years from now. In my opinion, I think it's going to come from creativity. Okay, however, he added that those projects will not come from AI yet. In my opinion, I think it's still going to come from creativity, from individual creativity. So, in some ways, this could be good. Maybe it might allow for more independent animated features to come out. You don't really see too many of those, right?
Right.
So I don't know. True. We'll see. Oh, yeah, these AI companies are also targeting my generation to create AI-generated bong. Okay, that's screwing with their already screwed up brains. I did not realize this. The AI prefers dark. Okay, funny. Boosh McFadden. It's just... I don't know. Does AI have preferences for women? I didn't think AI even had a... Never mind. Are we on the last article yet? It's getting...
We are. This is, this is the one I've kind of been looking forward to tonight.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire trailer. Paul Rudd is back battling ghosts. What?
Yeah, no big surprise there. Confirmation of a lot of the things that we'd been talking about.
We've been speculating on this for like a year, I think, right?
Yeah, literally every person, every main character from Ghostbusters Afterlife is back. That includes all the classic Ghostbusters. Yes. That includes the kids, Paul Rudd. I'm forgetting Phoebe's mom.
Right.
They're all back. All of them kitted out in Ghostbusters attire, so they're all Ghostbusters now.
I think it's interesting the mob is in the Ghostbusters. That felt kind of weird to me, but we'll see.
It does, but when you think about it, it's like she sees Well, you know,
You're gonna have my
considering
kids in these things. You're gonna put me in one. That's probably what it is, right? Yeah.
she was the gatekeeper, so it's like, okay,
Maybe
I'm
she
ready
did,
to strap on a proton pack and defend myself and my kids, right?
To be fair, it wouldn't have been so weird to have seen Dana in a Ghostbusters outfit at some point in the classic movies either. So, in fact, I think in the cartoon series, Janine actually put donned the uniform at one point too.
She did, and a lot of fans have done cosplays of that, and of course, you know, Rick Moranis' character did the Ghostbusters thing too. So yeah.
All right, cue the theme song. The Ghostbusters are back. Sony has dropped the trailer for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the sequel to 2021's Ghostbusters Afterlife. Afterlife took the Ghostbusting to rural Oklahoma, but the franchise's upcoming fifth film returns to its roots in New York City. In the trailer for Frozen Empire, an idyllic New York City summer turns icy when a mysterious death chill takes over the city. Paul Rudd leads a ragtag group of Ghostbusters to fight the frozen foe. Ghostbusters Afterlife premiered in November 2021 and was directed by Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, the original Ghostbusters director. After a single mom took her two children to a small town in Oklahoma, they discover their grandfather's secret legacy and their connection to the Ghostbusters. Afterlife starred Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace, who were all new to the franchise. Original stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, and Sigourney Weaver also made their Ghostbusters return in Afterlife. And hold on. Sorry about that. I lost my place because this thing corrects spelling when it shouldn't. And I was trying to uncorrect it. And then it sent me back to the Five Nights at Freddy's article.
I hate
Anyway, you saw the trailer. What'd you think?
I thought the trailer looked fantastic. There were some great callbacks to various bits of lore. I don't know if it was inspired or what, like the lions out in front of the library coming to life.
That's interesting, yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. One thing that I'm pretty fired up about, and I made this comment back during the postponement that we got from Afterlife during the COOF and everything.
Yeah.
I said, of all the films that have been pushed out, Ghostbusters is doing the best as far as working the marketing. They're finding ways to make lemonade out of the lemon they've been handed, because they they found ways to trickle out the marketing and get people interested in buying the products and looking forward to and whatnot. Same thing here. They couldn't market with any of the stars. So what they did was they've been dropping, little marketing blurbs and like there was something about a TikTok or whatever cover for your filter for your camera and whatnot and stuff like that. The Hasbro HasLab was announced a couple weeks ago. The PKE meter and the Ghost Trap, and that made its funding within 2 days, literally, and it's already at almost 14,000 backers as of right now. So chances are by the end of this thing, we're probably going to see all of the tiers open up on that. There was a little bit of fan, I don't know if you'd call it backlash or not, but there's a scene in the trailer. The shtick is that this ghost brings the cold, right? And it brings an ice age to New York in the middle of summer. So the Ghostbusters are all kitted out in these red parkas.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yes, and it's a good look, and the fans were immediately all over wanting to get this parka. Well, the fans identified where this parka came from, and it's like some Canadian country that uses vegan, animal-friendly, blah, 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 whatever. And the parkas are, I kid you not, $1,800 Canadian. And so the fans were like, crap. Well, Magnolia Clothiers, who have been doing a lot of costuming and whatnot for fans of Ghostbusters, said, we got you covered. We're going to be putting out a version of it. One that's lightweight with no lining for summertime cosplay, and one that's full-on winter parka.
That's cool.
for the winter time, they're looking at like about $300.
Okay,
I'm
that's
like,
more reasonable.
I could see spending $300 on a winter parka that not only am I going to use as part of my kit for Ghostbusters, but also to keep warm in the wintertime. I could get behind that, sure. You know, so yeah, there's a lot of things that fans are pretty happy about. Also, I haven't watched it yet, but Ghostbusters News, which is a really great YouTube channel, if you're interested in Ghostbusters News, you should be subscribed to them to them because Jason knows his Ghostbusters lore. He knows more than I've forgotten. You know, it's just crazy.
All right.
But he was saying that some of the people behind the scenes on this new Ghostbusters movie said they took inspiration from the animated series. So I will be interested to see what specifically that is.
What I think it is too, what I'm getting it from it on the anime series, they dealt with all sorts of threats, not just Gozer again. And I understand. I
Right.
think the reason they had Gozer in the other one because they wanted to reacquaint maybe younger audiences that maybe weren't as familiar with the original and what it's all about. But I think now they can go and do new threats, and I kind of like that idea if they just go the route of the animated series and just do. There's all sorts of horrible things out there that they can do, and I
Well,
I
we
want
had
to see this movie. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
we had already seen a little cameo in Afterlife of the eye popper ghost. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh yes, that's
I had that toy.
I did too,"
Yes.
and it made an appearance in Real Ghostbusters and whatnot. So, there's a lot of people going, "This is pretty awesome." Now, they've tried. It's funny because this is how fans are. They're asking the Hasbro people that are trying to promote the current HasLab, the PK meter and the Ghost Trap. Well, what do you think the next one will be? And they're like, well, let's get through this one before we start playing. But there's already fan speculation. Well, maybe what they'll do is a slime blower, because apparently the slime blower is making a comeback in Frozen Empire. It's no longer called Ghostbuster Firehouse. That was just an operating title. It's
I kind of
Frozen
figured it
Empire.
would be, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking forward to this thing. Firehouse, Frozen Empire. See, I don't know.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Comes out March 29th. I know Patton Oswalt's in it too, but I don't think he'll detract. Hopefully.
Yeah, he's acting kind of as a narrator in the
in the trailer, yes.
In the trailer, so he probably has some sort of and it's not really clear what his role is. He's shown in the trailer, but exactly what his role is not clear. It sounds like the Ghostbusters is doing kind of like in the real Ghostbusters, becoming a company, expanding out, hiring new people. So it could be
interesting if he was the villain.
Yeah, I don't think he is, but
yeah, probably not.
It's certainly not what I got from the trailer. But check that trailer out because it does end with a final shot with what appears to be the main baddie, which was kind of creepy.
Covered in frosty shadow, it looked like.
Yeah,
so,
looked really cool.
No, I think it's just. I like how there's even a little tinge 80s thing in the beginning with they're playing that cool summer song. Remember that?
Cruel Summer, yeah.
The Cool Summer, yeah,
and then it just starts to grind down as things start to freeze. Yeah.
And now it feels like this is going to work though, because now they return to New York, and now New York feels fresh rather than something that might have been stale if they had just started there, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Looking forward to this, and March 29th. I hope this does more to reinvigorate this franchise. Like I say, maybe a theme park over at Universal's Epic Universe. Maybe
that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
They could do a replica of the firehouse you could go into,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, do you remember Universal Studios used to have a Ghostbusters?
They did it. There was a very cool show ride.
I loved it.
There's a show you would go to, and if you go to the channel Defunct Land, you can watch a whole video on it, and it was great. Universal they'll update their stuff, so they're not going to keep everything around forever, but. It'd be cool if they were to maybe do a new version of that at least. And
the best thing about it was, and I know you're down there in Florida, you're probably all thin blood and you're
Yeah.
used to the heat and everything. But us Northerners, we come down there and it's like we're gonna burst into flames.
It's no, Florida's miserable in the summer, even for us to live here.
And when you're walking around the park in the
Yep.
sun and everything,
Yep.
it can be rough. And I remember going in to see the Ghostbusters thing, and it was pretty cool. And I was sitting right in the front row.
Yeah.
And in that segment where the Gozer and the everything comes and the Stay Puft climbs up
Yep.
and it's like towering over you, and then they cross the streams and the Stay Puft blows up. What they do is there's a big flash of light, and from like the front of the stage, there's this mesh, and it just blasts this frosty cold
I
air.
remember that.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And it was all this white mist, which was as if you were getting hit with the marshmallow, but you're not.
Yes.
It's just mist. But I was like, oh, this feels so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's an upside here. It wasn't just a great show. It was also that. So, you know.
So we got some things to look forward to. I think things, like I said, as dire as things are, and we talk about the dire stuff, there's good stuff coming out too. Apparently people are talking about a new Godzilla. I'll look into that maybe for next week. Also, what's going on with Hasbro? Was something going on with Hasbro recently? Because you can talk about that next week if Hasbro did another mess up. I don't know.
Well, I don't know about Hasbro, but I know Mattel's kind of screwed the pooch with its release of a Stevie Nicks themed commemorative Barbie figure.
What?
Yeah, and apparently Retro Blasting's got a video coming out about that very soon. I'm looking forward to seeing that, but Hasbro is a piece of work, let me tell you.
Well, we all have
Both of those toy companies are, so we'll see.
Yeah. So I think that wraps it up for the night.
Yeah, I think so.
Like I say, I think Sony's putting out some decent movies to look forward to. I don't know where Universal is. Warner Brothers, get your act together. Disney, just stay away from me. That's what I'm like right now. You know, it's clean up DC Comics too, please.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
So in about 40 minutes, get back to your computers after you've gotten some refreshment. Deleted Scenes is going to be doing The Other Side of Midnight, number 27. I'm going to see if I can't jump in there because he sent me a link and maybe help wind down the weekend over there.
Yes.
Because Deleted Scenes has a great channel. You should definitely be subscribed to him. He's getting close to a milestone. Let's help him get there. And speaking of Deleted Scenes, I will be hanging out with you. Well, you and I will both be hanging out with him on Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Netter too, if she's feeling up to it. She's fading fast. I don't think she's going to make it to The Other Side of Midnight. But
Oh, that sounded awful.
yeah, well, I didn't mean it that way, obviously. But I was figuring I'm probably going to tuck you in bed before that show. But so we'll be meeting up with Deleted Scenes over at Sparkwood and 21 again for Twin Peaks Season 1, Episode 4, The One-Armed Man. Do a
That's an
rewatch
important
and
one.
deep dive. Yes, it is.
I mean, I could argue they're all important, but this one I particularly remember.
Yeah, there's a great deal of lore that you get from this episode. Definitely.
It doesn't waste your time. I'll say that Twin Peaks does not waste your time.
No, it does not.
Yes.
It was definitely story intensive.
Yeah,
Well,
you
let's
still
face it. It's not only story intensive. Here we are. 30 plus years later, still digging into it and still finding things we didn't catch before. You know? But so Thursday, Netters Network, special guest will be Lester San Jose, the Skeptic Tank. Get caught up with him and hear what's going on his channel. And then after that, it's becoming a regular Thursday night thing over on Deleted Scenes channel, is his weekend update, as he lets us know what he's got going on going into the weekend. Friday, so last Friday we did the holiday special a little bit early, right? We did it a week early to accommodate Retro Blasting. But this Friday is the 45th anniversary of the holiday special, and I do want to somehow address it. So,
This was my doing, wasn't it?
yeah, it's Agent Boomer's fault. You could blame him for it. But I think we're going to do a little bit of a dive into the concept of the 70s variety show.
Yes.
You kind of need to understand it. Because if you did not grow up in the 70s with variety shows, I think that you get a skewed impression of what the Star Wars Holiday Special was. It was weird and it was, not great, but it wasn't as bad in context. So we are going to look at the famous Donnie and Marie Star Wars episode, which is really only about 45 minutes.
So you could do a preamble and get people
Yeah.
talk about Donnie and Marie, talk about the variety show, then we'll actually watch.
Think of it as an extended, good old days, specifically about variety shows. And we'll watch that one.
And Donnie and Marie in particular, probably.
And let me tell you something. I just watched it recently, and I realized I am going to have to, throughout it, explain a lot of the jokes because they are very dated. And without the context, you won't get any of them. So you'll kind of pick it up as we go.
Yeah.
That will
be
bring
Arthur Rules. I don't think she's in the Donnie Marie, but Paul Lind is.
Paul Lind, yeah. Oh, and there's that Farrah Fawcett a bit.
Yes, they do.
I just as she's doing it, I'm like,
Scott is
I'm
in it
gonna
too.
have to explain who Farrah Fawcett is. That she was married to Lee Majors. That otherwise that
You don't have to
whole
explain to
joke
me who
doesn't
Farrah
make any
Fawcett
sense.
was.
Yeah.
Farrah Fawcett was-
What is your husband famous for? Oh, for doing this, running in slow motion.
He looked great in The Apostle, like many years later with Robert Duvall, like in the '90s, early 2000s. She still looks great. I mean, it's just I don't know where she passed away though. Finally, didn't she?
Yeah, it was. It was cancer, but it was a specific kind of cancer. And if you think too much about how she might have gotten it, it's not pretty. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that brings us around to Saturday. Big Al Presents Films with Friends, Son-in-Law from 1993. I did not realize this, but apparently there's a Thanksgiving theme to that. So
there is. Okay, so you're doing a Thanksgiving movie.
I guess so. So there you go. Which brings us around to next Sunday. Every Sunday afternoon, Deleted Scenes is on with Jedi Bill, 3 Central, 4 Eastern for Western Cinema Presents. And then, of course, just before Geeky Geezers, look forward to his unscripted, at which we don't have a title for just yet, but it will be episode 40, 7 Central, 8 Eastern on Deleted Scenes channel. Make sure you're subscribed to him and you hit that notification bell so that you know when it goes live.
Sounds good. All right, and that'll bring us to next week's Geeky Geezers. I'll look into this Godzilla story everyone's interested in. I'm curious.
Yeah, is this that Godzilla -1 or something like that?
I know they were doing a series for Apple TV, but I don't know if that's what they're referring to. Maybe it's something else. So
maybe. I don't know. So
the movie will be The Left-Handed Gun with Paul Newman as Billy the Kid. Oh, that sounds interesting.
there you
Paul
go.
Newman's a good actor. He, underrated actor. Well, not underrated. He was a big deal back in his day, but people see him now as the guy on the salad dressing, right? Something,
Yeah. Well, yeah. They considered him for Superman
Interesting.
and Robert Redford. I think both of them would have been mistakes, but I
Yes,
understand
indeed.
why they were considering those.
They considered, I think, Paul Newman for Dirty Harry as well, but I think he turned
I
it
can
down.
kind of see that too as well. So
What's interesting, what I will say this, I don't think it's on the market anymore, but Paul Newman made a salsa, a jarred salsa that was actually pretty good. I'll say that.
oh no, I loved all of the products of his that I tried, and didn't like some of the proceeds go to charity or something like that.
Yeah. So good for him.
But
He was very loyal to his wife too. They always felt you never stepped down on your wife or anything. And you know what he said? He said, "Why go out for hamburger when I have steak at home?" That's what he said.
I agree 100%. That's and that is the secret to I was on last week. I was on Dr. Marissa Pay's radio show in California,
Right.
but she also simulcasts on YouTube. And we were talking about what makes for a successful marriage. And I said, you just remembering how lucky you are,
Yeah.
and don't go looking for something else when you've already got exactly what you were looking for.
Don't
And
take
if you
things
don't
for
have
granted.
exactly what you're looking for, don't get married. Just duh.
Well, there you go. All right, y'all. Have a good week, and we will see you next time.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Good night, all.